big day today. Situation monitoring, all that good stuff. We're going to get into it and more. Let's blast off. Let's get started. Zoran versus BB. Houthis back in. Hexeth hearing. Situation monitor. Arizona primary. Kai Newkirk. Doing photo shoots. Vacation. Hasi tomorrow. Get in now. Twitch.tv/Hasanabi. Pinstripe suit got Haas looking like a Yakuza character. This is my evil suit. This is the one where I look like an evil guy. Do I have a blast off meme, please? Dean got blasted again? I don't care about that. Shush on the DL. Okay, everybody calm down. Putin apologist. Check donations. Bill, love you. Putin apologist. Wait, why? Why am I what? What did I do now? Is it the vacation? Is that why? Like, is it the pinstripe suit? What is the Putin apologist accusation coming from now? You look like you love capitalism and love exploiting workers. I do. It's my favorite thing. Ha 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 ha. I didn't think you would respond. I'm just messing around. I love you. What sanatorium are you going to? Oh yeah, I did see the old people falling for AI, the Kentucky 4th Congressional District thing. He got kirked again. Okay. Okay, I got it. Dean is getting kirked. All right, hold on. I'm a shipping magnate. That's why I look this way. Okay, I look exactly how an international shipping magnate would look like. Obviously, this is obviously a very sad time for international shipping magnates such as myself, and many in this community obviously know that too, because now a second straight is potentially on the verge of being blocked. We're going to get into that in a second after I blast off. So, greetings from 3 Arrows. Hey, Papa, thank you for the raid. And greetings. Greetings from 3 Arrows. Wait, is Hesa Papa 3 Arrows? 3 Arrows says hi. The shipping community is getting hit hard today. Yes, Hesa Papa community, 3 Arrows. Shout out to everybody. For those of you who don't know, who are just tuning in, this is a international shipping magnate community where we talk about commerce. Why not talking about Indian protests? I talked about it yesterday. And why not talking about Indian protests right now? I don't know. Maybe because it's been 26 minutes since I started the fucking broadcast, dude. Holy shit. I'm with the cockroach movement, okay? I'm with you all the way. What the fuck is happening? It's also strange because, like, why? What do you think? I'm like in the pocket of fucking the Modi government or something? Like, you think it's not? You think the protest movement and police brutality in India is not something that I'm invested in, that I would talk about? I don't understand. Because they don't even just come in and they're like Indian Hasanabi don't just come in and they're like, hey, can you please talk about this? They go, why are you refusing to talk about this? And it's always so strange because it's like, why do you think I would just like purposely avoid talking about it? What the fuck? I covered it yesterday. Yesterday, I was in the process of my government making moves to arrest me, okay? And there were chatters in here yelling at me for not immediately switching over to cover the protests happening. Were you going on vacation, big dog? Bro, why would I tell you that, man? Please. I love you guys, but, you know, I gotta spend some time with my family, you know? What is this? More articles on your take on Mao and the College Democrats event. Want me to send you the links, or are we moving on from that? There you go. One about Cuba. New report denounces Havana. Yeah, I saw this one yesterday. Every couple of months, people will every couple of months there will be think pieces that refuse to think for some weird reason about how My initial assessment of the People's Republic of China is that it's not like an overall burden or a bad country that exists on the planet. And then everyone will write articles about how I'm actually basically Adolf Hitler, perhaps worse than Adolf Hitler. Like, liberals lose their mind when you don't automatically go, yeah, Lenin, Mao Zedong, these are complex, great men of history, and you know, their contributions to history are major. Okay. As complex individuals, obviously they've done some things that are objectively positive or progressive in the same exact way that the American Revolution was progressive, but then also horrible as well, horrible mismanagement. It's one of the funniest things that I have seen. One of the funniest things that I've seen is people just basically doing the thing where they agree with my assessment of a situation, but they'll bring it up as like a criticism, or they'll like, even the Chinese government actually says the Cultural Revolution was a disaster, and the Four Pest campaign was a disaster. It's like, yeah, I know, man. I know. I agree. I don't know why you act like this is a new take. It's so funny. National Review wrote an article, Excesses. Left, Mao Zedong. Right, Hassan Piker on his Twitch show. What's 17D, 100 wounded? Is the death toll, is the casualty toll that's like the official numbers from the American. It's so funny. I am not the face of the Democratic Party. And also, you're misrepresenting my analysis here, but it doesn't really matter. No one fucking believes any of this shit. Like, can you imagine making this the fucking fixture? Making Maoism the fixture, the main attack ad in the upcoming midterms. This is a gift. Okay? This is a gift to the Democrats. Democrats, you're fucking welcome. Okay? You're welcome. Let them fucking go, yeah, these guys are all Maoists, and then have the average American go, what the fuck is Mao Zedong? Who gives a shit? Okay? The idea that, first of all, I'm not a Maoist. Like, it's so funny that they're like sincerely trying to make this this Cold War era fear-mongering a real thing in 2026. Okay? And senators and everyone is like losing their minds over it. They're like, this is, they're licking their lips. They're like, yeah, he fucking, he didn't sufficiently critique Mao Zedong. It's awesome. I mean, who cares? Whatever. Fuck it. Yeah, dude, I'm a Maoist. You got it. He wore a Zhongshan suit. He's actually a Maoist. Please don't talk about healthcare. Don't talk about Israel. Don't talk about the economy. Please just talk about Mao Zedong. Yeah, good luck, man. They love Mao now. Holy shit. Even the Vanguard was saying that this morning that you're a Maoist, and wait, what? Even the Vanguard was saying that this morning that you are a Maoist, and they weren't sure about that? I'm a Maoist? What the fuck is wrong with people, bro? Oh, Jesus Christ. It's awesome. All right, whatever. Who gives a shit? God, Americans, man. Americans, what do you do? What do you do with Americans? What can you do with Americans? What? Just like, yeah, I follow Gonzalo Thought. It's true. I'm a Shining Path supporter. You're ambiguous, so people will assume. I don't think there's any ambiguity about me not being a Mao. That's not a real thing. Okay, first of all, there are probably, as I said to Matt Taibbi, as I responded to Matt Taibbi, there are probably 12 Maoists in the U.S. currently and no peasant base to mobilize. The ultra-wealthy control every aspect of our lives, from buying elections to eroding regulations. Genuinely an embarrassing take. They call you a LARPer, then turn around and act like you're trying to mobilize the peasants to overthrow the U.S.? Yeah, what peasants? Anyway. Yeah, this is it. Like the last time there was a Maoist formation in the United States of America, they were the Black Panthers. They were awesome, for the record. They were great. But even then, it's more so just Marxist-Leninism. Like they had an ML structure. I don't think that they were, there is no, in the post-industrial revolution, in industrialized nations, in developed nations, in countries like the United States of America, there is no Maoist formation, right? Because there is, like, one of the biggest differences that I would say with Maoism was the mobilization of the peasant class. And I guess, like, in modern China, the only aspect of, the modern China is not Maoist, which is not even a controversial take. This is not a real thing. It was really fucked up what Mao did to landlords, so that's why Fox News should look up Mao Zedong landlords and tell his viewers about it. Yeah. In any case, I think you just need to tweet, I'm not a Maoist, I just like the suits. God forbid a guy has style icon. No, I'm not going to do that because people are going to be like, see, he's trying to distance himself from Maoism because he knows he got God. It's like, who gives a shit? Fucking who cares? Just move on. Also, it looks good. So the Zhongshan suits will stay on. Mamdani has advanced the Deng Xiaoping thought while Piker is still stuck defending Mao. Wait. What the fuck? If anything, I advanced Deng Xiaoping thought way more than Mamdani does. This is crazy. I mean, this is a joke. He's memeing. It's actually not a fucking bad joke. I'll be honest. I hate to give that to him. But you know, that's actually not bad. That's actually not bad at all. Yeah. How come nobody ever, when I wear these suits, nobody ever gives me respect as an international shipping magnate who loves commerce? Like now I'm fucking wearing the power suit, and nobody ever thinks, oh, Hassan is a fucking factory owner capitalist. How come it only goes in one direction? I wear the Zhongshan suit and everyone's like, well, this guy's a Maoist, clearly. But I wear the fucking power suit. Nobody knows that I actually just want to do business in the beautiful city-state of Singapore. That's right. That's what I want to do. That's what my dream is. Just tell them you follow the 3 principles of the people which were enlightened by the father of the Chinese nation, Dr. Sun Yat-sen. That's why you wear the Zhongshan. Yes. Kaya is a principled Maoist. That's the only person that I know. That's the only person that I know that is a principled Maoist. Everybody else is phony and a LARPer, okay? Everyone else is phony. Everyone else is a LARPer. Only Kaya is a principled Marxist-Leninist Maoist who follows, who is going to bring back, Kaya's going to bring back the Cultural Revolution. Anyway. Where was I? Does it change your Iran war predictions? What happens to our beautiful Lucas drones now?
Developed R7 portable AI interceptor system, designed specifically for low-altitude airspace security.
Okay, you want to know what happens to our beautiful Lucas drones anyway? I need you guys to understand something that's very funny about the Lucas drones. The fucking Lucas drones. Did you guys know that there's a subscription? So the only difference between a Lucas drone and a Shahed is that it's way more expensive. And it has a Starlink on top of it, right? So because it has the Star Shield system, every Lucas drone that is sent, every Lucas drone that is launched has a fucking Starlink adapter on top of it. And therefore, every time they launch one of those goddamn Shahed drones on the American side, we are paying Elon Musk money. A subscription. Isn't that fucking nuts? Anyway,
Most counter-drone systems need a full crew and 30 minutes to set
By
up.
the way, this is what I was talking about. Like the Chinese TikToks about like drone warfare, anti-drone warfare is pretty crazy because you can buy all of this stuff and it's like readily available in the marketplace, I guess. I don't even understand how, but
This one needs one person and 30 seconds. Equipped with a high-definition camera, it offers a longer viewing range. It can lock onto targets in 5 seconds. With a maximum speed of 420 kilometers per hour, the interception process is fully resistant to electromagnetic interference. R7 achieves an interception success rate of up to 90%. Lightweight design, rapid deployment, fast and precise interception. Introducing our self-developed R7 portable.
incredible work. I still don't understand why the firewall allows this stuff while firearm ownership is practically illegal. I mean, I don't know if they sell this in China. I think they sell this in fucking. I think this is the Chinese, the Chinese manufacturers selling this in the Western market. Like they're quite directly. They're marketing this to Ukraine, Russia, and whoever else will purchase it. I don't think this is as easily I don't think you can just like buy this in China with ease. Like this is, first of all, it's AI ad in English. This is not for the Chinese market at all. It's kind of like those ladies that'll be like, "Oh, do you want a tractor supply? Like come to the Guangdong Industrial District for the best tractor supplies." And it's like, that's not, that person is not trying to sell this to the fucking Chinese market. They're doing direct marketing campaigns in the United States of America. Looks like it's 7K. That's crazy. Anyway, as far as like the Maoist stuff goes, it's very silly. But you know, Republicans are having fun with it, I guess, where they're like, dude, this guy said Mao Zedong is a great man of history, and you know, had, what is this? Debunk her lies, dude. Why do you want me to watch this fucking psychotic freak?
Let's hear now from one.
What's wrong with you, man? This has 1,000 views in 7 hours. We don't have to literally watch every time a fucking freak on the internet loses their goddamn minds. Okay? Lefties losing it. I know. Shut the fuck up. Who cares? Wedgwood poll. Francesca Hong at 38%. Let's go. Let's talk about real shit, please. I'm about to be a lefty losing it. They send it because you always click it, bro. I know. It's stupid. It's stupid. Okay. We are going to get to the real world and talk about real world news, which is Red Sea blockade. We're talking about the Houthis. Okay.
This morning, new fears the war with Iran could be expanding, with the Iran-backed Houthis from Yemen now threatening to block Saudi oil from transiting another key waterway, this one connecting the Red Sea to the Indian Ocean. With traffic in the Strait of Hormuz already slowing to a crawl, cutting off the Red Sea could cause oil prices to spike even further, and gas prices now more than $4 a gallon as well. This as overnight, the U.S. launching the 10th straight night of strikes on Iran, while Iran...
Listen, as you guys know, I am an international commerce giant, a shipping magnate. I love commerce. I love free markets. The freer the market, the freer the people. And a part of my belief system, a fundamental plank of my belief system, is the idea that all straits must be open at all times. So obviously, this is, as we are all a part of this international shipping, import, export community here, this is devastating. Because now a second strait is on the verge of being blocked. The Ansar Allah movement in Yemen is now retaliating against Saudi Arabia. Those cufflinks make it look a lot more believable. Yes, yes. Look, cufflinks. Do you see that? Would someone who is not an international commerce giant, would someone like that not? I mean, would someone have cufflinks if they didn't love international commerce? For what it's worth, I waited for you for your stream today to see some actual meta news. There was nothing worth consuming from domestic U.S. media.
Launches strikes far beyond its borders. Air raid sirens echoing here in Jordan. 6 missiles and 5 drones intercepted overnight. This after 3 U.S. service members were killed or presumed dead in that Iranian attack on a U.S. base in Jordan late last week. Video circulating online shows that massive explosion, a fireball erupting, debris raining down. 2 of the soldiers killed identified as 19-year-old Private Isabella Gonzalez of Texas and 25-year-old First Lieutenant Tyler James Fian of Hawaii. In addition to those fatalities, 100 service members have been wounded in just the past few weeks, although most returned to duty. CENTCOM has also identified the soldier killed in Iraq during a controlled detonation of an Iranian drone. He's Army Sergeant Michael Swinton, 30 years old, of Fayetteville, North Carolina, the father of 2 young children. And thus far, these U.S. strikes have not deterred the Iranians, and there are questions as to what President Trump will do to try to end this 5-month war he predicted would be over in a matter of weeks.
And Martha, Secretary Hegseth and the chairman of the Joint...
I truly do not know where we go from here. I've talked about this extensively every single day for the last 150 days at this point. And even before Operation Epic Fury started, I kept explaining over and over again that this would be devastating. And plenty of much smarter people have talked about the escalation trap. Shout out to Robert A. Pape. Shout out to Mearsheimer and numerous other academics that looked at the situation and thought that going along with Israel's interests here would be devastating for America. America has deteriorated its force projection capabilities. America has betrayed its allies, its key allies in the region, left them defenseless. Countries all around the world are taking a cold, hard look at their security relationships, their security contracts, which don't necessarily defend these nations from hostile foreign adversaries, but instead turn them into missile sponges. That's the new meta. That's the lesson that we have taught the rest of the world. Meanwhile, after 130 days or so, given the crisis that was imminent with the global oil markets, the United States of America decided to go back to a ceasefire pattern and try to deal with Iran through diplomacy. Many people, myself included, were very skeptical about America's interests. There were some others, like Trita Parsi, for example, who were far more positive about this deal. It turns out J.D. Vance and numerous other officials openly revealed that the MOU wasn't a real investment in a long-standing peace, but instead the memorandum of understanding was simply to get an extension. But the problem still remains. The American Strategic Petroleum Reserves are in critical levels, nearing 300 million barrels. Once it reaches below 300 million barrels, once it reaches 150 million barrels, it's over. The salt caverns that these strategic petroleum reserves are stockpiled inside of will actually crater. There's a compounding effect once it gets to 150 million. These are the lowest levels since the 80s that we have seen. all signs point to a crisis that is imminent. America is going to inevitably have to stop exports, which will have dramatic consequences for Europe. Okay, because the way that oil is traded in the international market as a commodity is a little bit more complex than people think it is, right? It's not like when we're constantly refining oil and we're shipping it out. We already have extended contracts with other countries. America is an export country, right? America is an exporter, an oil exporting nation. We could stop those oil exports, but if we stop those oil exports in order to make sure we normalize our oil and gas prices here in the United States of America, we would basically destroy the European markets. We would destroy all these other markets that we're selling the oil to right now. So the likelihood that we will stop exports is, I mean, that's a real crisis. That's a real moment of panic for the rest of the world, right? Especially at a time when the Asian markets are heavily reliant on oil coming from the United States of America because the Strait of Hormuz is closed, which is where they were getting the majority of their oil from. Then there's a separate crisis taking place here with Russia. Ukraine has successfully gained leverage with their additional strikes on critical oil and gas infrastructure inside of Russia. Ukraine has been able to pepper and strike Russian oil tankers, Russian gas tankers. This is heading down. This is basically making the pressure worse. It's actually feeding into the volatility in the international energy markets. A terrifying prospect. So knowing everything that we just talked about, which of course the American side is privy to this information as well, why are we still striking Iran? It doesn't make sense. Why have we not gotten back to the negotiations table? Why have we not realized that the only way out of this is diplomacy? Because if there's two methods here for the American side, you either get back, you beg the Iranians back to the negotiations process, which, for the record, the hardliners have been vindicated over and over again. The hardliners were initially vindicated when America struck Iran, decapitated its leadership structure, and then the hardliners, the IRGC, took control over the situation. And through their Mosaic defense system, they were able to fight back and claw back tremendous amounts of leverage by closing the Strait of Hormuz. That leverage is never going away. They will forever maintain this leverage. It makes no sense for the Iranians to give up this economic nuclear option that they now have at their disposal. It makes no sense. They fought for it. They bled for it. Why the fuck would they give it up? Of course they're not going to give it up. And America understands that they're not going to give it up, which is part of the reason why the MOU itself didn't make a whole lot of sense, where I guess they just wanted a brief moment of respite so they can re-up, rearm, and then go back to war. But Iran, on the other side, also had the same opportunity to rearm, to rebuild, and therefore, Iran also is in a better position overall. And every day that goes by that this war continues, every day that goes by that the Strait of Hormuz is closed, every day that goes by where we're digging deeper and deeper into our strategic petroleum reserves, Iran is gaining more leverage. And not only are they gaining more leverage, they're also moving certain chess pieces on the board to their own advantage as well. One of the things in the last 9 days since the war resumed, one of the things that Iran has been able to do successfully is they shut off America's eyes and ears that Israel was utilizing in the region by blowing up radar installations and blowing up the American early advanced warning systems in the entire region, right? They did this in Bahrain, Kuwait, UAE, Saudi Arabia. They did this all around the region in the Gulf nations. The last piece of the puzzle was Jordan. So since the MOU fell apart, Iran has been continuously bombing installations and American assets in the Gulf countries that remain. But Iran has also put the crosshairs on Jordan in a way that they hadn't before. Because a lot of the American assets moved to Jordan because Jordan is the last line of defense for Israel. Jordan has a security relationship with Israel. Jordan has a lot of the remaining anti-air defense systems in between Iran and Israel. And therefore, Iran has been blowing up Jordanian installations now and blowing up American assets in Jordanian bases. Now, a lot of people will look at that and go, why are they blowing up Jordan? This doesn't make sense. Well, part of the reason why they're blowing up Jordan is because they are threatening Israel. They're not just attacking Jordan for no reason. I know a lot of people are confused by this, as they were initially when they were like, why are they blowing up Bahrain? Why are they blowing up the Gulf region? Aren't they supposed to be allies? It's like, no, of course not. These are nations that have a hostile foreign adversaries, military bases and military installations. Of course they're going to blow them up. And Jordan has anti-air defense systems that defend Israel. So blowing up those anti-air defense systems in Jordan is a way for Iran to basically threaten Israel without bringing Israel back into the conflict. Israel has maintained a holding pattern since the MOU ended. They have said that this is a beneficial situation for them. America's the one that has to deal with Iran. They don't have to do anything. They're not risking their assets. They're not risking their troops. They're just sitting back and waiting, right? That's the Israeli side. There was a 5-hour security conference that Benjamin Netanyahu put together just last night. Israel obviously is very fearful about the Jordanian incursions, the Jordanian strikes, because, again, they obviously understand that Jordan plays a profoundly important role in Israel's security. And then, to add on to the chaos, you now have the Houthis successfully forcing not one, but 2 Saudi ships to return back to their ports. This is one aspect of their blockade. The Houthis could also start threatening the Yanbu ports and the other ports that the Saudis utilize in order to get their oil tankers out. If they were to do that, they would effectively shut down all Saudi oil tankers. They would destroy the Saudi economy. They would destroy the rest of the Gulf's shipments of oil. They could strike the pipeline, the east-west pipeline that currently exists that takes the oil from the refineries that are on the Persian Gulf side, that ships that oil directly to the Yanbu port, where that oil is then put into barrels and into tankers that will get out of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. If they were to threaten the Yanbu port, they could effectively shut down all Saudi oil shipments. This is a terrifying prospect. Now, I will say this. Perhaps people will find this, especially in this community, a little bit controversial. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think it's a good bet to underestimate the Ansar Allah movement. I think they're a wild card through and through. But I will say this. I don't think they have the necessary tools to keep up a blockade. I think that their forces have been attrited fairly reliably in the last Operation Prosperity Guardian tit for tat, where America basically had to pull the white flag of defeat and surrender and cut a side deal with the Houthis to no longer fight with the Houthis, to no longer bomb Sanaa in exchange for the Houthis no longer hitting American naval assets. But I will say, I don't think they have the necessary supplies to keep up a major conflict. I don't know. But I suspect that's part of the reason why they've been so restrained. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's also part of the reason why it was very important for Saudi Arabia to ensure that there is no direct air travel between Tehran and Sanaa. Because if they were to open up, if they were to allow Iran to be able to send civilian shipments, like if the Saudis were to let up on their blockade on Yemen, all of a sudden, Iran could potentially start shipping more and more missiles, drones, and things that the Houthis, I'm sure, need to re-up and rearm. Having said that, for many of the international shippers, all you need is a couple ships that get hit by drones for them to decide this is too costly for us to insure. Because shipping is not just about the bravery of the actual captain. It's also about insurance. And most insurers are just not going to insure ships if the Houthis are striking them. Right? So that usually halts most commercial shipping. But yes, ships loaded with Saudi oil are now being turned around at Bab el-Mandeb. Saudi oil is no longer transiting the Strait of Hormuz or Bab el-Mandeb. If the 5 Red Sea ports start getting targeted, especially Yanbu, which is a major Saudi port, it will become nearly impossible for Saudi Arabia to export oil and import dry goods via waterways. The only alternative, in the absence of them striking the ports, because again, the Houthis have not, as far as I understand, they have yet to strike their ports. They have not struck their ports. They've just told Saudi oil tankers to turn around. 2 of them have this morning. The only other option for them, in the absence of the Houthis striking their ports, is to try to go through the Red Sea, to go north, obviously. And from what I understand, within the Suez Canal, which obviously has limitations on these like major oil tankers passing through it, one of the things that they do is very inefficient, but they'll dump the oil tankers, like they'll dump some of the oil on one side of the canal and then transit it by land, and then put the oil back into the tankers. Is a long, convoluted, and complex process that obviously adds a lot of time. It's very costly. It's very expensive. So many of the, they'll offload it and then they'll onload it one more time. But in order to basically, unload and then load the oil barrels, making it far less efficient of a process. It's just not going to happen. It's too costly. It's too inefficient. People would probably rather wait it out. So Donald Trump is doing the classic Trump thing, though. And he's apparently blaming Jordan for being struck.
They did slip something through in Jordan. And if we had other operators, would not happened, unfortunately. But because we have the best equipment in the world, we've stopped almost everything. But when you let other people do your job, with the United States, we let other people do the job, and sometimes it doesn't work out so well. But they did slip something through in Jordan.
Yeah, it's their fault. It's their fault. It's our weapons, by the way. So the new meta is Pickaxe Mountain. Pickaxe Mountain is an even deeper nuclear facility. I guess it's like Israel is in Trump's ear again. Israel is, I suspect, the one that told Trump that if you strike Pickaxe Mountain with bunker buster bombs, like that could that would teach Iranians a lesson. It's unbelievably stupid. It's incredibly stupid, but the expectation from these morons is to get dumber and dumber. Trump says the U.S. will be hitting Pickaxe Mountain in Iran pretty soon, very heavily, and there's nothing they can do about it. What can Trump realistically accomplish by striking the so-called Pickaxe Mountain, where more than 13,000 U.S. airstrikes over 40 days failed to destroy Iran's underground missile bases or stop it from continuing to launch missiles and drones? The strategy runs on delusion. It doesn't make any sense. None of it makes sense. It's funny they called the mountain notorious. Israel believes Iran moved nuclear material inside of notorious Pickaxe Mountain site last year. Also funny how much they're signaling the strikes ahead of time. Whatever's inside Pickaxe Mountain is probably out by now. No, I doubt it. I don't think they signal their strikes ahead of time because they expect the things to be moved around. I suspect that if there's any nuclear materials inside of Pickaxe Mountain, they would probably try to hit it if the Iranians were dumb enough to try to offload it or to ship it elsewhere. So, as I said yesterday, and I don't know why people refuse to recognize this, but a lot of people haven't really considered the unlikely scenario in which America basically destroys the previous nuclear America has not tested the nuclear option, right? There's a taboo around it, the nuclear taboo. Let's say America decides to eviscerate the previous nuclear taboo. Now we're living in a totally new world. I think it's unlikely regardless. But what has not been considered here is whether or not this would actually stop Iran. I do not believe that this would stop Iran at all. Don't even joke, lad. I'm not joking. I mean, this is the final stage. You either send in ground troops, which are very unlikely and very costly, or you nuke. The nuclear option is the last option. I don't think America would do this, but I'm just saying, even if they were to do something so insane, there is no guarantee that Iran is going to stop if they were to actually nuke Pickaxe Mountain. Okay? Like, there is no guarantee of Iranian surrender. If anything, they'll probably strike back extra hard. We've had a good 100 years where the nuclear taboo was not breached. The nuclear boundary was not penetrated. Almost a good 100 years. We didn't make it 100 years, obviously. But as far as like the strategic goals that we have, because America's goals here are obviously to force Iran to surrender. And in order to do that, they are using what remains of their military power to try to gain leverage. Okay? Obviously, a big part of it is to attrit their striking capabilities, the Iranian striking capabilities, to destroy their missile silos, their underground missile production facilities. And it's clear that they haven't actually seen a lot of success on that front. As a matter of fact, it has been a disastrous campaign. Okay? So far, it has been a disastrous campaign. Iran has only maintained its forceful posture in the region. It's gained leverage. It controls the Strait of Hormuz with relative ease. All of this stuff is really bad for America. So why would a nuke change the strategic goals for America? Why would that actually give the United States of America more leverage? It makes no sense. Not only is it not a guarantee that the utilization of a tactical nuke on Pickaxe Mountain will actually penetrate into the deep underground facility, but you're breaching this nuclear taboo for no reason whatsoever. There's no real there's no real success here. And on top of that, even if you were to, let's say, blow up the above ground facilities and evaporate them, okay? Even if you were to maybe even penetrate the Pickaxe Mountain facilities, let's say, okay? This doesn't guarantee Iran's surrender at all. This doesn't give you leverage at all. So I don't understand what the fuck we're thinking here at all. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm very skeptical of a tactical nuke causing Iranians to capitulate to American needs. I don't think there is some secret recipe here to end this war through military means. I think there's only one way to end this war, and that is through diplomacy. It's by conceding to Iran. And what's extra strange about this whole process is that not only are Americans refusing to do that, but every day that this war continues, Iran maintains its leverage and actually gains more leverage because they're not stupid. They're not dumb. They understand America has a larger agenda here. They understand that America has broader responsibilities than Iran does. For Iran, it's an existential crisis. For Iran, it's a matter of survival. So they have to hold on. The IRGC has to hold on. The IRGC has to make it as costly as possible for America to wage this war. But on the American side, there are a million different responsibilities when you're the hegemonic superpower, one of which is to maintain stability in the global oil markets, the global energy markets. And every day that Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz and implements the blockade is another day where things are getting worse in the global energy markets for everybody else. There's no guarantee that China will also keep ensuring the stability by cutting their oil demand. So far, they have done that, but there's no guarantee that they will continue doing it. You do realize that nuking a facility under 400 meters of rock won't really do anything, right? We're talking about something that isn't going to happen. I know. I'm saying that too, okay? But what I'm also saying is even if you actually were to achieve some kind of strategic military goal, in the unlikely scenario that they have a super secret bunker buster and a tactical nuke attached to this super secret bunker buster that we've never seen before, that actually is able to penetrate deep underground through 400 meters of fucking granite, okay? Let's say that did take place. There is no guarantee that this stops the Iranians from continuing the mosaic defense structure and continuing to pummel every other regional actor, continuing to hit forces of capital in the region too. They just last night hit an Amazon data center in Bahrain, right? And they've said that they're going to continue expanding on their strike targets to factor in American companies in the region and their assets in the region. So there is no guarantee that would stop. If anything, they would probably hit the refineries as well, extra hard. There isn't a weapon in existence capable of penetrating a facility like that. I know. I'm saying that too. But I'm also taking it one step further. Let's say there is a super secret weapon that they haven't deployed yet, and they deploy it this time. Even then, even if America achieved a strategic objective here, it still would not change the dynamic of this war. Do you understand? I agree. I agree with you. Anyway. So did Iran actually hit the Amazon data center? Business reporters are about to get a crash course in how insanely repressive the information environment of the Gulf is. It's way worse than Iran. For years, I've heard journalists and even a former U.S. official marvel about how hermetically sealed off the Gulf states really are when it comes to anything important. Yes. And to add to that problem, the White House has been notoriously absent from the conversation this time around as well. The New York Times Daily actually did a whole report on it earlier today. I was listening to it where they talked about how the Pentagon realized that giving updates on the war efforts, giving periodic updates on the war efforts was actually a bad idea because they're fucking losing. And they're like this time around, post MOU, they've stopped informing the public altogether. And their argument is, why would we tell Iran what they're successfully striking? We can't let them know that they're successfully striking. Well, if they are fucking striking those targets, they probably have satellite imagery to confirm that those targets were successfully struck. They're not lobbing them blindly. You know what I mean? So that's bullshit. Iran knows what it's fucking striking. And Iran can obviously get confirmation. If they can literally strike with pinpoint accuracy the bunkers where American assets are, if they can hit the hangars where American assets are, then they probably know. They're not doing it blindly. They're not using readily available Western commercial satellites. They're obviously clearly getting more higher level of intelligence from either China or Russia. So that argument has been really stupid as well. Yeah, they're just getting their intel from the White House feed, from CENTCOM. They're like, oh, we did it. CENTCOM noticed. CENTCOM noticed us. Yeah. Come on, man. Iran don't know shit. Jordan itself says there's no American base in their country. Yeah. That was very funny as well. The idea that there are no American military bases in Jordan, which is something that the King Abdullah, also said just last week. And then this week, like 5 days after that revelation, 2 Americans were killed in Jordan. How did that happen? I don't even know why they say shit like this. Also, here's some more fun stuff. Wall Street Journal reports that the Pentagon is reducing training and maintenance vital to military readiness because of the urgent budget shortfall caused by the Iran war. Great. Great. Things are looking great. Okay? Things are going oh so well. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, after the lengthy security discussion last night, said the state of Israel has no interest in joining the contained confrontation between Iran and the United States. The current situation is the best one for us. Oh, really? That's interesting. That's interesting. They said, no, not for me. They said, no, we're good. We're good. Interesting. So who are we fighting this for? The Telegraph independently corroborating Washington Post story from 2 days ago that the White House is not being told about the scale of munition shortages. The Pentagon is hiding the scale of missile shortages from the White House, insiders fear. The U.S. president is under pressure to hit back at Iran after the deaths of 3 U.S. service members over the weekend. But rumors are spreading across the administration that the Pentagon is concealing a shortage of interceptor missiles, which are needed to resume the war. There are also suggestions that the White House does not want to know about the scale of the shortfall. Sharing bad news or realistic news doesn't seem to end well for anybody, an insider told the Telegraph. Another said the culture of silence was causing problems for Pete Hegseth, the U.S. Defense Secretary. Oh my God, this is literally the Politburo. This is unironic. This is the fall of the USSR, dude. Straight up. For all of the talk, all these liberals have been talking shit. Okay? This right here is identical to what took place to a certain degree with Stalin in the USSR. Ironically, it was one of the major problems that caused the mass famines during the failed attempt of industrialization in the countryside in China. When you have other actors up and down the command chain refusing to tell you the truth because they're fearful of repercussions, you're fucked. Straight up. This is one of the biggest problems Analysis by the Royal United Services Institute in March calculated the U.S. and its allies had burned through more than 11,000 munitions in the first 16 days of the war and predicted they were a month away from running out. They were a month away from running out of critical munitions. Great work. This was the Washington Post report earlier, a couple days ago, that said, we do not have enough to safely sustain operations, and I don't think the White House is aware of that. This is straight up fall of the USSR moment right here for the United States of America. It's pretty wild watching this unfold in real time. And yes, Israel is, to a large degree, responsible for it because they pushed our dumbass president into taking action. And now they're just watching the dominoes fall from afar, ironically enough, even though they're far closer to the area of impact than we are. It's crazy. Now they're like, nah, we're good. Really? You're good. Interesting. Interesting. This is America's paper tiger moment, okay? This is the United States of America's paper tiger moment. Far too extended. Far too extended. Iannucci movie going to be made in the next 10 years about this? Yes. Real threats to the U.S. now know that is mismanaged and vulnerable. I think people already knew this. But the difference is now it's confirmed. Like, I think our adversaries obviously knew this, but now our allies know it too. And that's very different. That's a different calculation. Other notable thing is that this is almost identical to how Lindsey Graham and other Russia hawks talked about Ukraine. This is so great. They'll do the fighting instead of us and weaken the enemy. Here, the client state uses the superpower to fight its proxy war. Yeah. How is there no one in Trump's ear that's like, Mr. President, you have to pull back? I genuinely don't understand that. I actually am shocked. Like, no European leaders are fucking out here being like, we should probably put an end to this. I just don't understand it. Bezalel Smotrich is saying this in English, that they have no investment in continuing this war, right? Bezalel Smotrich is actively running around being like, we're staying out of this. We're good. But also the intel that Trump is receiving from the Israeli side, that seemingly is the only piece of intelligence that he listens to. He's a fucking idiot. Okay. Partially due to the boomer philosemitism, I think, that these old guys are all about, I'm not fucking dying for Israel. That's so stupid. Bezalel Smotrich. More leaked Israeli intelligence designed to pressure Trump to bomb Iran. What a surprise. Israeli intelligence believe Iran moved thousands of uranium enrichment centrifuges into tunnels deep inside a mountain last fall. Israeli and U.S. officials say a development that would heighten concerns that Tehran could reconstitute its nuclear program. Israel passed along the intelligence findings to the U.S., saying the centrifuges were transferred to Pickaxe Mountain site last fall after the 12-day war in June, when American and Israeli strikes pummeled Iran's 3 main nuclear sites. I mean, look, at some point you got to realize these guys are not fucking reliable, right? But Trump's closest allies are also huge ultra-Zionists. Trump's closest advisors are either unbelievably loyal to Israel's interests or directly Israeli. His advisors are giving him Israeli intelligence that has failed the Americans over and over again. He's always, weirdly enough, this is not just an Israel-specific thing. I've talked about this with Vladimir Putin as well. He, for some reason, does not trust his own intelligence community's assessment. He has always done this. He did this with Vladimir Putin, too. If you remember, his own intelligence community notoriously would feed him information, and he would be like, no, shut the fuck up. You're the deep state. You're all woke and gay. I don't know what the reason is. And he would literally listen to Vladimir Putin in the Ukraine conflict leading up to the Alaska summit. He gave a higher degree of emphasis to what Vladimir Putin was telling him rather than his own intelligence community. And I don't know why he does this, but he just does not trust his own intelligence community's assessment. He does not trust his own fucking generals. It's very strange. I think he has this. I think in some ways, I look, who knows what Trump thinks, right? It's virtually impossible to understand what the fuck this guy is thinking because he doesn't think, right? But I will say this. I think that he believes his own bullshit. I think he believes the whole like the intelligence community is out to get me. The FBI was directed by Obama to surveil me. So I think there's like a resilient resentment that he has towards his own intelligence community for that reason. So when they're like, hey, we don't have enough munitions. Hey, Mr. President, here's the intelligence that says that if we just bombed Iran through just the aerial bombardment campaign, we're not actually going to be able to destroy the IRGC. We're not going to be able to destroy the Iranian leadership at all. It's only going to cause the hardliners to gain more momentum. They're going to come back more forcefully, and they're going to invoke primacy in the Strait of Hormuz. And he was just like, shut up. It's woke and gay shit. I don't care. Okay. It's either that or he's just being blackmailed straight up. Maybe both. I don't know. But it just doesn't make any fucking sense. But here are the other dipshits.
How much longer do you expect this to go on? And do you think munitions should be a limitation at this point? What do you hear?
No, I don't think, the Pentagon has done a great job of restocking the munitions. I don't think that's an issue at all. But I can't.
Really? CSIS has contradicted this information. It doesn't seem to be the case at all. This is straight up. First of all, with what? How did we increase efficiency in our procurement strategies, in our manufacturing capabilities overnight? I know Trump has tried to institute the Defense Production Act and has demanded that Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, everybody, more forcefully try to re-up the American munitions. But at a certain point, unless you have some kind of, alchemy or some kind of like magic missile production capabilities, there's just no way to rebuild our defenses, rebuild our munitions, re-up our munitions. I just don't. Like, what are we doing? The only alternative that I can foresee here is the beast mode strategy, where they just throw F-15s, F-35s into the fucking line of fire with the hopes that they can expend their less costly, guided munitions. Some of those are still going to be, some of the missiles that they're using are still missiles that they can strike from afar, as opposed to gravity bombs. But even then, that's a suicidal strategy. You're a socialist, right? That's a political philosophy, right? How can you be a Democrat and a socialist? That's contradictory, says the commie Jesus. It's because I'm everything, dude. I'm a Maoist. I'm a fascist. I'm all of the above, okay? That's it. I'm all of the motherfucking above.
And I do expect that we're going to be there
I'm
a
a
long
vegan,
time.
I'm a meat eater.
Operation Northern Southern Watch went on for almost 20 years, I think. So I think this is going to be something similar. We're going to have to stay there. Those guys aren't going to change their behavior. We have to adapt, and I think we're going to have to get the Gulf states and those that rely on the oil coming from the Gulf states to help pay for this.
This is psychotic. Make no mistake, advocates for war with Iran make no secret of what they expect and want, an endless war. This retired general says, I do expect we are going to be there for a long time. Where are we going to have to stay? Where are we going to have to stay there? All it takes at this point is for China to fucking maybe slow roll their strategic exports the minerals and the magnets necessary for bomb making, and then we're fucked. We have virtually infinite supply of unguided and guided munitions, gravity bombs, and the like, but we can't use them as long as the Iranian anti-air defense capabilities remain intact. Okay? That's the problem. So in order to take out the Iranian anti-air defense capabilities, which are mobile units for the most part, okay, in order to take them out, we've been expending our standoff munitions, the ones that we lob, the Tomahawk missiles and the missiles that we lob from afar. Iran has also simultaneously been blowing up some of these missile launchers in the Gulf. And on top of that, just kind of eating it. But ultimately, as long as Iran has anti-air capabilities that threaten American fighter jets, it's far too costly for America to try to do aerial bombardment missions over Iranian airspace. That's where we're at. Hello. Okay. These were reportedly taken by an American soldier at an undisclosed base. Aftermath of the Iran missile strike. You know it's an American soldier because he misspelled missile. We're not going to make it, man. We're not going to fucking make it. Oh, and there's this one. Haven't heard about Fog in a while. Join Fog. Travel to exotic places. Meet interesting people and kill them. For what it's worth, it seems that soldiers are being told that the increased precision impacts and delayed sirens are a result of more countermeasures being used and enhanced targeting data. I guess they don't talk about the radar situation. Aftermath of the Iran missile strike. From what I'm hearing, we're getting projected impact data, but the missiles are changing trajectory multiple times in flight, so the projected impact warnings are no good. Targeting data is obviously getting fed to Iran from China or Russia because where they are impacting / what they are targeting is insanely precise. Dude, at some point, you have to recognize that these guys have the ingenuity and the fucking leverage and the upper hand. Even now, even as your fucking barracks are destroyed and you're staring at your destroyed barracks, you're like, oh, it must be Iran. It must be Russia. Sure, they're probably giving, they're probably obviously giving additional targeting data. But like, how is this not a clear indication? How is it not a clear indication that the war efforts are failing? Big Cuba Day moment. Yeah, it is a big Cuba Day moment. Also, here's the other side of the story, I think, and this was my suspicion when I first saw that video, that direct target, that direct strike on U.S. barracks in Jordan. What I noticed immediately was the lack of sirens. And a lack of sirens means that their early advanced warning systems and their radars are out. So they don't know they're being bombed until the bombs start hitting. So their response time is far lower as a consequence of that. Or, you know, they're asleep and they're sitting ducks inside these fucking bases. Cool bidet moment, hashtag lettuce parasite. And if they don't have early advanced warning and they don't have the sufficient precautions, seems like the warnings aren't long enough, so there typically aren't air raid sirens. If they're piecing up American installations in Jordan, that means inevitably they can do that to Israel. And I think that's part of the reason why Israel's like, we're staying out of this. You guys got this, right? Hey, thank you, America. I know we goaded you into this, but you guys are good, right? Hey, you got this, King. And it's really funny because America's running out of bases in the region to store their Stratotankers. Because obviously, the maximum flight distance for these fighter jets, especially given like whichever kind of munitions that they have, even if they have these drop tanks, is like what, 500 miles? But the distance that they have to cover is approximately 800 miles. So they need to get refueled in the air. In order to get refueled in the air, you need to have Stratotankers. But you can't store the strato tankers in Saudi Arabia. You can't store them in Kuwait. You can't store them in the American air bases in the region because Iran keeps blowing them up. So where are they putting the strato tankers? They're putting it in Israel. And Israel doesn't like that because then it turns the Ben Gurion airport into a dual-use facility that is a priority target for Iran. Obviously, it's the summertime. Israel is a country that takes advantage of tourism. So they're trying to stop the fucking strato tankers from even landing in Ben Gurion Airport. They're like, no, you can't house the strato tankers that you're using to strike our mortal enemy at our behest in our civilian airports, because then they'll attack our civilian airports. The U.S. military is stationing lots of military refueling aircraft at an ostensibly civilian airport in Israel. This is another sign of desperation. These are being used in the war Israel wants America to fight in Iran. Now, Israel is saying they need to go because they're taking up parking space for civilian aircrafts, and Israel doesn't want to hinder travel season. What's the problem? You don't like the war that you ordered? I'm so confused. I thought we were moving I thought we were going to move CENTCOM to Israel. What happened? I thought that's what we were doing. I love this story because it's the most like Israeli mindset story of all time. Okay? Fight my war for me. I should experience zero repercussions as a consequence of you using all of your military assets, ruining the long-standing and existing relationships that you've cultivated over the last the last 4 or 5 decades with the Gulf region. Throw that all aside, and you can't even fucking put your strato tankers in my civilian airports. Sorry, it's travel season for Israel. It's summertime in Israel. You're ruining our economy. The most spoiled country of all time. It's unbelievable. And we are so fucking cucked that we can't even tell our spoiled fail son, shut the fuck up. We're doing this for you. Houthis just declared the Red Sea closed for Saudi oil. If this stands, a loss of another 4 to 5 million barrels per day. The Titanic is now hitting the iceberg, and there are not enough lifeboats for the world economy. Iran's leverage is soaring, says Robert A. Pape.
Chiefs are testifying on Capitol Hill this morning.
They are. The administration is requesting nearly $70 billion to pay for this war, and Secretary Hegseth and the Joint Chiefs Chairman will be on the Hill to defend that request. They will also likely be asked.
Yeah, Pete Hegseth had to go back to the Hill to beg for more money. Hassan, I've been trying to get my lib boyfriend to like you for years, but the mouse should has permanently turned you into Hitler in his eyes. Fucking thanks a lot. Who cares, man? Oh, sorry. Yes, I know. Liberals are fucking insane.
About the injuries and fatalities.
All right, Martha.
Let him get his information from wrong sources who are professionally wrong all the time. If a piece of garb is enough, for these people to just be like, oh my God, I can't believe it, this guy's basically Adolf Hitler, then yeah, he's a fucking moron, you know?
Sarah, thanks to you.
There's another new development that could be rattling global markets.
It isn't the garb, dude. Don't be dishonest. What is it? What is it then? That I have a fair and balanced approach to the People's Republic of China instead of taking a unbelievably violent posture to a foreign country. I don't treat China as a fucking foreign adversary. I give it the same critical thought that I give to the American founding fathers who literally owned slaves. Is that what it is? Account created this May, following for years, by the way. something tells me that you actually have a problem and you're, making up a hypothetical like, oh, I've been a long-term fan of yours for years, dude. I almost changed my boyfriend's mind, but you fucking ruined it because you love Mao Zedong. You're the biggest fan of the Cultural Revolution. You're the biggest fan of the Great Leap Forward. Interesting. Am I? If you've been in here for years, you've probably heard me talk about these things. Talk about the Cultural Revolution. Talk about the excesses. Talk about the deaths due to mismanagement. So I suspect that you would know my full opinion. I still hate CCP, but you do have good analysis on where China was and where China is now. Yes. While the rest of the Western analysts have failed to properly identify where China is going, if you were in here for the last decade, you would have gotten a very different understanding of what the Communist Party of China was doing, okay, and where they're going. Do you want to understand the world, or do you want to close your eyes, plug your ears, and go, la, 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 la? These guys are just vicious monsters. That's it. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to love everything I'm saying, okay? All I ask for you is to listen. And it's so crazy to come in here and freak out about this shit at a time of vindication when Fareed Zakaria is coming out and literally being like, China has benefited the most from America's military quagmire. When you got Johnny Harris, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, all talking about how China actually cut down their oil imports dramatically in order to maintain stability in the energy markets. You would have heard that from my analysis months ago. Do normies really see Mao as his Hitler figure? Yes, they do. 100% they do. Yes. Liberals don't know anything about other countries. They've just been taught that everyone is just as vicious, if not more vicious than Adolf Hitler actually was. For sure. You're in this Hong Push survey. Some Democrats worry that French... Yeah. For a lot of liberal education, they say Castro is Cuban Hitler. Okay? Che Guevara is also Argentinian/Cuban Hitler. Stalin is Russian Hitler. Mao Zedong is Chinese Hitler. Like everyone is a different variant of Hitler, and the only right approach, like there's no reasonable critique. It's just different flavors of Adolf Hitler. Ho Chi Minh is Vietnamese Hitler at the time. Obviously, that's changed a little bit now, I think, because we have a much better relationship with Vietnam now. But at the time, it was, Ho Chi Minh was literally Vietnamese Hitler. Kim Jong-un is North Korean Hitler. That's just how Americans learn about this stuff. Let me guess, Pol Pot is based. I don't know if Americans know about Pol Pot, but I guess Pol Pot, I don't know what Americans think about Pol Pot. I guess he is, unironically, he is literally closer to Hitler than all of these other figures. But of course, we supported Pol Pot, and so did China at the time, alongside the United States of America. Big L for Chinese foreign policy, of course. So that's an interesting one, because they were not this major American foreign adversary, because it was it corresponded to our needs in the region at the time to align with Pol Pot. And out of all of these foreign adversaries or foreign leaders, he is actually the closest to Adolf Hitler, ideologically speaking, or direct action wise. Nord raid. Fire, thank you for the raid. Literally saw someone in your reply say you support him because he's a communist. I mean, I literally wear glasses. I need them to see. It would be the dumbest, No, I do not. I agree. I just think you can't expect normies not to get upset to the sight of the mouse suit. They don't know. Yeah, I don't care. It's again, manufactured outrage. We all are adults. We're adults in this community and we're adults in general. We are all capable of critical thinking. If you see that and your immediate response is to lean into the manufactured outrage and say, oh, dude, why are you doing this? Of course, liberals are going to fucking say shit. Who cares? My answer to that is, who fucking cares? It's a Zhongshan suit. Obviously, a lot of Americans have unbelievable resentment towards China, to anything China related. I don't. And a part of my job is to try to get Americans to not be so fucking reactionary about other countries, including China. I want the American manufacturing base to be rebuilt. Okay? I do want that. I understand taking a necessary a necessary trade posture against China for certain sectors. But we have to also build those sectors, first of all. And we also have to chart a new path forward, one that is actually not treating China as a foreign adversary, but as an economic partner, because it is. But of course, no matter what happens, people in the United States of America are going to be unbelievably reactionary about this sort of stuff. But it doesn't fucking matter. It literally doesn't matter. Listen to the words that I'm saying rather than the Zhongshan suit. Facebook normies are in Fox News comments defending you, bro. Yeah, because Facebook normies are probably sick and tired of business as usual politics, so they don't give a fuck if I'm wearing a Chinese suit. Anyone that has the capability of listening to what I have to say rather than immediately going, oh, dude, you're wearing this Chinese suit. It's like really fucked up. Most people, I think most normies will look at that and go, well, that's a cool looking suit. Some people will say that's really fucked up. I can't believe he's doing that. But who gives a shit? Do they really think Chinese people are all Nazis since they love Mao over there? Libs are so dumb. I don't think they think about that at all. Especially because you have to remember most, with the exception of like, I guess, San Francisco immigrants, like a lot of the Chinese Americans for the longest time were coming from Taiwan. They're obviously very much against the Communist Party of China. So like they've already had like a very negative opinion of China. So they assume that every Chinese person, 1.4 billion of them living in the mainland, actually secretly despise the government and hate it a lot. But they're living under this like massive surveillance state, which is true. They are living under a massive surveillance state. But like that massive surveillance state is constantly keeping them down from actually, having this like successful revolution that is imminent. Like I would go so far as to say I think that's like the American mindset, that like every Chinese person, all 1.4 billion of them, actually fucking despise the party. They hate their government. They can't say anything about it because they're just too fearful, right? Like that's probably what their attitude is.
We are the
Maogate made it to Jason Smith. Did someone tell you the people of China are oppressed? The opposite is the case. The vast majority of Chinese citizens love the Communist Party of China. Chinese people pour into Shoshan, China every day to lay flowers at Mao's statue. An American journalist living in China, Jason Smith. Yeah, it's just so funny that like a lot of Americans who are at least a little bit knowledgeable about China, who will say like Deng Xiaoping saved China, right? The market reforms are what saved China. At least they know that the statement that they clipped out of context, where I'm like, oh, I would never disrespect Mao Zedong, when I was like jokingly talking to a chatter, responding to a chatter who was trying to claim that like Tiananmen Square isn't a mass surveilled area, right? And I was explaining how I got detained for like a moment by a Chinese cop who thought I was like making fun of Mao Zedong, and I was like, I would never make fun of Mao Zedong. Like saying I would never make fun of Mao Zedong, but also at the same time, the Cultural Revolution, a great leap forward, had great excesses, a lot of deaths, and that's understandably something that I'm critical of. and have criticized. That is, ironically, that is the dangest position. That is what Deng also advanced. Great reverence for Mao, while simultaneously pushing for marketization, liberalization, market reforms. I've been a fan for years, and I've been trying to get my Maoist boyfriend to like you, but he said you have seen the light of Deng, and he's put off. Thanks a fucking lot, dude. I apologize. Honestly, I'm surprised no one has called you out for cultural appropriation. Yeah, because they're too busy fucking saying I'm Chinese. They're too busy being like you're secretly a Chinese agent. You're Chinese.
Especially oil markets even more.
Why is it so hard to comprehend that Mao's failures were not solely upon him? Like the whole famine killing sparrow shit was something pushed by farmers and council members as well. Okay, to be fair, the Cultural Revolution you could actually put in the hands of Mao Zedong. almost single-handedly. Okay, sure. The issues born out of famine. There are a lot of moving parts there. I think it's more so just the issue with like the decentralized structure, and how there were technological limitations as well. But like come on.
Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen have now declared their own naval blockade, they say, against Saudi Arabia.
What is this? That Chatter's last stream title?
Red Sea. That's another critical international shipping channel and oil route. And also, there's new reporting just in today that the Houthis have begun broadcasting messages warning Saudi ships to stop traveling in the Red Sea. Joining me right now is retired Army Major General James Spider Marks. He's the head of geopolitical strategy for Academy Securities. It's good to see you, Spider. Let's talk about this. I mean, the Houthis now threatening the Bab el-Mandab Strait, declaring this blockade on Saudi ships from passing through. If this really does go into effect, if we now have a second major shipping channel that is threatened and thus, there will be disruption to it, what does that mean for the United States if this becomes a new front of this war?
Well, it's been a front in the engagement with the Houthis in the past, as we realize. Also, bear in mind the Saudis, over the course of about a decade, tried to eliminate the Houthis without success. Many would say it's difficult to try to bomb an organization back into the 14th century.
Yeah, also, there's another country. There's another country closer to us that tried to eradicate the Houthis, also with no success. That's us. We did that. Like every single president since Obama has bombed Yemen as a matter of principle. Like it's something you have to do. That's the moment you become president. And yet, it hasn't really. 2015 and onward, it hasn't really done anything.
And they're already in the 14th century. So the Houthis have had an opportunity to really establish themselves over time. They've been quiet, as you know, over the past 4 or 5 months as a result of epic fury, and their ability to stay in touch with Tehran, which is their primary lifeline for support, has been minimized as well. What this tells you is that they've been hunkering down, they have capacity, and they are now going to reach up and turn up the heat, obviously. The concern truly is, do they have the capacity to do that? Can the Houthis close the Bab el-Mandeb? Well, they've done it in the past, but it's been opened again because of the efforts of the United States, not with a lot of help from other allied partners. But there's an incentive for the Saudis certainly to be involved because the Saudis, have created a pipeline infrastructure, as you know, from the Gulf over to the Red Sea. This is the oil that's being pumped out. So that attempt to create an alternative and some resiliency and redundancy is now going to be threatened pretty significantly. So the U.S. has a presence. The Saudis have a capability. What is going to be done that's going to detract from epic fury if we are now on the front edge of a new engagement with Iran? Will that alter that type of an attack profile? Those are the key issues that need to be addressed. So the Houthis can say a lot of things a priori. Right. Let's see what really happens. And then I guarantee you the Saudis will step up and the U.S. will certainly get involved as well.
Nick, the Iran-backed Houthi group in Yemen, as you know, has declared its own maritime blockade on Saudi shipping. This is a big deal. What's the fallout from this?
Yeah, the Houthis are essentially a proxy of the Iranians. The Iranians have closed the Strait of Hormuz. The Houthis are threatening to close the equivalent on the Red Sea, known as Bab al-Mandab. About 6 or 7% of the world's oil and energy supplies come out through Bab al-Mandab along the coast of Yemen. This is mostly Saudi oil that's pumped all the way across the Arabian Peninsula from the Strait of Hormuz, where it's blocked, and it comes out through the Red Sea. So this is a significant escalation. The Houthis are militarily ready for this moment. However, they have not taken, or so far not acted upon, this decision to block the Saudis. If they do, then we can expect an escalation in a response from the Saudis. That is almost unquestionable.
Bab al-Mandab Strait, it accounts for around 15% of traffic, maritime traffic. I mean, this is just such a huge risk. Countries are starting to really draw down their reserves. How worried should we be about the Houthis at this point?
Well, they haven't enacted, or at least they haven't enforced this blockade. But if they do, it's significant because this was the exit that Saudi Arabia had used to avoid the Strait of Hormuz, which we know has been either locked down or kind of open or kind of closed for about 5 months. They were basically transporting via pipeline and convoy the oil to the Red Sea and trying to get it out that way. And they were doing that very successfully. Somewhere around the order of 4 million barrels a day had been exiting through this other choke point that now the Houthis want to close off. And so that is a significant threat. Not the kind of threat that the Strait of Hormuz is, but when you compile these things, it gets to be pretty significant. Now, oil prices, it is worth mentioning, although they are up about $20 from their low point from a few weeks ago when the Strait of Hormuz was mostly open, we're still also around $25 or $30 below the high point for the war. So the market right now is kind of saying, okay, we think that this could be a problem. Maybe there's some room to rise, but we're not quite at the level that we are or we were just a few weeks ago. The reason for that is that, as you mentioned, there are these inventories. China has almost 2 billion barrels of oil in its inventory. It continues to draw down that, and that's sapped demand for oil imports. So the big picture is this is a bigger problem today than we had yesterday, but still the market thinks that it can be managed, at least for the time being.
I want to bring in Dina Esfandiari, Middle East geoeconomics lead for Bloomberg Economics. Dina, really good to have you with us. I want to start off with something you wrote on X, and you say this: the Houthis have announced a blockade of Saudi, framing it as a domestic issue. The move is intended to give them wiggle room to escalate from targeting Saudi ships only to expanding to wider disruption in the Red Sea. And Dina, we also know that the Houthis have already started broadcasting messages to vessels, putting out warnings as well. I mean, this could be another huge risk on global oil supply. How are you analyzing some of the scenarios that could play out in the next couple of days?
Absolutely. This is really significant, and it's really significant now because so much of the oil that was going through the Straits of Hormuz has now been diverted towards the Red Sea. The Saudis in particular have done that, reaching maximum capacity in their east-west pipeline. So that means that all of that oil that was going through Hormuz is now going to the Red Sea. The Houthis have been very careful to give themselves space. So they've now come out and said that they will target all ships that go in and out, that dock in and out of Saudi ports.
I don't know if they have the capability. I'll be honest. I mean, it's a mistake to ever underestimate the Houthis. It's always a mistake to underestimate the Houthis. It was one of my biggest misses in the beginning of Israel's genocide of Gaza, where I jokingly talked about how, like, oh, a 7-front war, really? Like Houthis are actually gonna be a significant threat to Israel, and I was wrong about that. They were such a major threat to the Israeli economy that they successfully bankrupted one of Israel's 2 major ports with their blockade. And I was wrong. So I will never underestimate them again. But I do think, I do wonder if they have the capability of, to successfully and continuously blockade the Red Sea entry point, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, because I will say, yeah, this is what happened in the last port Ansar Allah blocked. In March 2024, the port operator announced plans to lay off half of his staff due to the Houthi attacks stymieing shipping trade to the port. On the 7th of July 2024, the port CEO told the Knesset Economic Affairs Committee that there had been no activity at the port in the past 8 months, and he was requesting financial assistance. Later, the CEO said that it must be acknowledged that the port is in a state of bankruptcy. On the 17th of July 2025, the port's bank accounts were frozen due to unpaid tax. The port completely shut down on the 20th of July 2025. Now, that port is, yes, a lot further away from Yemen than the Yanbu port is on the Red Sea. So it's probably a lot easier for the Houthis to successfully strike the Yanbu port and strike other Saudi ports on the Red Sea to render commercial traffic inoperable. So, you know. Yeah, the port of Eilat was the only Israeli port on the Red Sea located in the northern tip of the Gulf of Aqaba. This strategic location has, given its outsized importance despite being remote, got shut down. Why are you counter-signaling Ansar Allah? What does Iran have that the Houthis don't? 47 years of underground facilities where they can build every tool, every part necessary, a direct line of commercial traffic by way of trains and railroads to China so they can get their components in time. They have a whole ass state apparatus. They have, I mean, they have everything that the Houthis don't. The Houthis are a family that won the Yemen civil war, basically. The Houthis have the Houthis don't have a lot without the Iranian without Iranian shipments. Let's be serious for a second. They've done a lot with the limitations that they have. They're very proud people. They got heart, but ultimately, if we're talking about their manufacturing capabilities, I'm not super well versed. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what kind of domestic manufacturing capabilities the Ansar Allah movement has, but you don't really need much. Here's the thing. You don't necessarily need a lot to be able to impede commercial shipping anywhere. You need some drones. That's it. Right? You just need drones. And the Houthis definitely have drones. I just don't know how many drones they have and how many missiles they have. In early 2025, the U.S. spent an estimated $7 billion bombing the Houthis with little to show for it. The U.S. burned through munitions but never even established air superiority, and the Houthis continue to fire at vessels at the Red Sea. Yes. Yes. This is, the 2025 U.S. Houthi conflict ultimately ended with Trump cutting a face-saving deal with the Houthis to desist attacks on U.S. vessels. Dude, this was so devastating. This was such a major blow. I covered it at the time. I don't know if you guys remember, but we literally waved the white flag and we told the Houthis that they can continue hitting Israel as long as they stopped hitting our naval assets in the region, that we would stop bombing Yemen as long as they promised they would stop blowing up our planes and blowing up our naval assets. That was insane. Trump came out and literally said the Houthis have a lot of heart They're very brave. They're great warriors. Like do you not remember? Trump said, my mistake. The Houthis got hands. That was in 2025. That was a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. Biden also did something similar with the Houthis as well. Trump restarted Operation Prosperity Guardian when he took ownership. When he became the president, Trump did the exact same thing that Biden had done and failed at. Because the Houthis never stopped their blockade of Israeli shipping through the Red Sea. They never stopped it. Biden tried and failed. Trump brought it back, tried and failed. Part of that is because asymmetric warfare favors the side that is capable of striking through relatively cheap means. The side that is capable of striking at commercial vessels is always going to be able to successfully render travel inoperable. They're always going to be able to stop ships from transiting, because it's not even necessarily about like a physical barrier that they're creating. They don't have that. They're not doing that. It's more so about the finances of it all. With a handful of drones, you can stop commercial shipping in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, because no one will ensure that ships are allowed to, no one will ensure ships transiting through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait if there is no guarantee that they can just pass through without being blown up.
But of course, how much they implement that threat is what everybody's going to be watching, because they could target just Saudi ships to begin with. They could go much bigger. At the end of the day, what matters is that they've made this threat. And ultimately, because they've done this in the past before, that threat is credible. And that's enough to scare a lot of people off.
Yeah, I mean, look, the wider issue here is what we're seeing from the U.S. side, and the Pentagon is saying nearly 100 U.S. troops were injured in the last 2 weeks. We know that Hegseth is expected to face senators today and, answer questions around the fact that they need more money for this war. From a Tehran perspective, they're reading into this. They're looking very closely at the U.S. strategy right now, and I guess who's going to buckle.
Isn't the Houthis a threat? Isn't the Houthis threat alone to shut down the strait? Yes. They are. They are a threat alone. Of course. Of course they are, because they have done it already. They've done it successfully, so they can do it again. I'm just saying, I don't know how. Look, the only thing I was saying is I don't know how much they have in the tank. I don't know what their capabilities look like. I don't know if they are capable of continuously, for a long timeline, if they're going to be able to hold off commercial traffic. I don't know what kind of response America has in the books for the Houthis as well. We're on Fox News again.
It's easy and tempting to laugh at the source, to look at Hassan Piker, to look at his wardrobe, to look at his fetishization of totalitarians, and simply dismiss Piker. But that would be a mistake. It would be a mistake specifically for Democrats.
No more to Trumpism, but no more to the Democrats who compromise, who conciliate, and who betray us. No more to the Democrats who will collaborate and cooperate with the fascists. I'm not going to lie, I cooked on this. Who will fund Israel, who will help poison the planet. We don't need those Democrats anymore. In fact, we have a message. We are coming.
Collaborate. It's not the kind of word you stumble upon. It's a very intentional, purposeful word. It's the type of word that's used by the secret police when they show up to the door of a professor to say you are collaborating with the wrong people.
What are you
it's a
saying?
Warning to Democrats. But it's also, this entire concept of blue MAGA, something that we all, Democrats or Republicans, should listen to, because I think it's true. You see, for more than a decade now, the Democrat Party has radicalized its own base. They've been going after Donald Trump because they decided that he was illegitimate. They have called him a fascist. They called him a Nazi. And now they are discovering that they cannot control the rhetoric or the base that has responded to that rhetoric.
The Democratic Party is in the middle of a civil war, right? And you have moderate mainstream Democrats, such as myself, which have been challenged by the far left extremists.
You know what's beautiful about all of this? This makes Zohran Mamdani look like a fucking moderate, okay? Every damn day that they point to me and say I'm a fucking dangerous radical is a day where Zohran Mamdani is the appropriate moderate, which he is, okay? That's how this fucking works. That's how this shit works.
Tired of a set of people on the very far left in the Democratic Party.
And there will come a day when they will call me a moderate as well. There are those who find me to be too conciliatory to the Democratic Party. Okay? This is how we pulled the Overton window back to a place of decency, to a place of honesty, to a place where we forcibly center the needs of the working class in this goddamn country once and fucking for all. That's it.
Type of move.
By the way, out of all of these people that Will Kane is talking about, there's only been one Maoist. His name is Van Jones. Van Jones is the only one that he has shown thus far that actually was an unironic Maoist third worldist, by the way.
Pointed out the direction of the Democrat Party. He pointed out that in 2008, someone like him who would have described himself as center-left was standing next to someone who would have described themselves on the left. But as the left continued through the years to run to the left, it wasn't the center that moved. In fact, it was the center that got pushed toward the right because progressives ran further and further. By 2021, that cartoon shows you a leftist far running off the screen yelling bigot at somebody on the center. If you updated that image to 2026, you would see a leftist run even further, knelt, crouched, laying down in a prone position with a rifle pointing it back at the center and the right, yelling Nazi. You see, when it comes to progressivism, there is no destination. It's only acceleration. It's a movement defined by movement. It's always about more. And the Democrat Party gave this movement the only push it needed.
This year, this country could very well go the way of Germany in the 1930s.
Comparing the tactics of Donald Trump to Mussolini and Hitler is a very legitimate thing.
I don't care what Elon Musk is doing behind a presidential seal. In this country, we hate Nazis.
We have a Timu Hitler in the White House right now that thinks that he is going to become the dictator of
Don't
the
you
United
find
States.
it so funny that they're packaging this entire correct approach?
And those are mainstream Democrats.
Perhaps regardless of our opinions on healthcare, regardless of our opinions on Israel, like there is a truth to the commentary from all Democrats and even people on my side that are more radical than the Democratic Party.
The establishment Democrats removed moderation from the equation, and in its place, they added a call to action.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country.
I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
I don't swear in public very long, but we have to Trump.
If that's your starting point, how do you look up with surprise at the place you end up?
Left-wing terrorism always ends in bloodshed.
This is fascism,
misery,
by the way.
suffering.
This is
It
straightforward
only can travel
fascism.
in one direction.
And if liberals,
point at which
self-identifying
the left-wing
liberals,
terrorists
and if Democrats in key positions of power don't realize that this is the real threat, not someone like myself, not what I'm fucking wearing, okay? Listen to my words. This is the real threat.
Looking around and telling us this has gone too far, but this is of their own creation, even if it has left them behind. And now Democratic Socialists are ready to take the wheel. Baby Frankenstein is ready to now be in charge.
The responsibility that we have as Americans, the recognition that is going to be required of us, of the exploitative and extractive nature that we play on the global
Fox
scale,
updated
on the
it.
global stage, is only going to be challenged if we are getting represented by people who understand that on a fundamental level. right? And that means getting more immigrants into office. That means getting more people who have heritage in the global South into office. Because
Oh God,
Make America
terrifying.
the third world again. So what now? Where do we go from here? Well, historically, when Democrats don't like where their voters go, they don't try to persuade them. They overrule them. Let's look at the history. They kneecapped Bernie Sanders in favor of Hillary Clinton. 2 years ago today, they swapped out Joe Biden for Kamala Harris. They dropped Graham Plattner for someone yet to be chosen by party insiders. That is blue MAGA. That is the machine that tells its own people, we know what's best for you. Now, Democrats are finding out the hard way. This is what you get. You get the platform of the Democratic Socialists of America, and your only response to stopping defunding the Department of War or replacing the president and the Supreme Court is to anti-democratically undercut the voice of your very own people. You can't all of a sudden ask everyone to calm down after years of calling your opponents fascists. Eventually, you'll have to watch your own back.
Okay, here's a really good
You might be a
idea.
collaborator. Joining me now is former Pennsylvania Democrat Congressman.
Here's a really good idea. How about not being a fucking fascist to the Republicans? And how about not being a collaborator to the fascists for the goddamn Democrats who do?
Patrick.
Hey, I'm an American patriot, Will, and I appreciate that. Hey, listen, I will say this. I know there's a lot of folks that want to talk about, let's blame, who's to blame in the Democratic Party, et cetera, right? Like you, I'm a leader, right? Blame says who's at fault. Let's talk about responsibility. Responsibility is what can we do about it? I blame both parties, Will, literally both parties, because they've ignored the affordability crisis that's going around and happening to everyday American families. Neither party is addressing it. Neither party. And that's why, I don't agree with the things that were said there,
Well, okay. But I disagree with what you just said. So let's pick up on where I disagree.
Okay, sure.
First, let's start where we do agree. Yeah, affordability is a real issue in America. We've dealt with for years, especially under the Biden administration, hyperinflation. We had inflation up to 9%. Even today, gas prices are not where the American people want them, and things are unaffordable, including housing. However, I do not believe this leftward lurch in your party is in any way due to affordability. If I were to believe that, I would expect to see the working class of America voting for Democratic Socialist candidates. But instead, what I see is rich college kids, highly educated, largely white, urban professionals in places like New York voting for these radical policies, which says to me this is less about affordability and this is more about the Democrat Party having radicalized a good percentage of its base into believing that everyone, and by the way, when it comes to everyone, Patrick, basically they would not distinguish between you and me. They would call you blue MAGA. They would call you a collaborator, and they'd call us both enemies.
Well, and that's why, I love American, just like my brothers through veterans, 52% who are independents. But Will, you had on Governor Cuomo. He ran for mayor. He lost. Do you know why he lost in deep blue New York? He lost because he didn't talk about affordability. The current mayor did. And that's the reality. If you ignore the will of the American people, whether you're Democrat or Republican, they are going to vote you out of office. And it's not about being a Democratic socialist. It's about, are you representing the pain points and representing a future that is for all Americans, not just the wealthiest or not just the poorest among us.
Yet that is not what you hear from Democratic Socialists. You can definitely play the role of the PRI in Mexico and hand out groceries in the line for the voting booth. And in some ways, that's what this is reduced to. Because you talk about affordability, but their answer to that, Patrick, is have no bills, have no debt, have no job. So they live in a never-never land of the economy. And so we're dealing with something much more radical than affordability. We're dealing with something that threatens to upend America. And I can play, and I have played, and you've heard those clips. And I know that many like you think that is a small fraction of your party, but there is no doubt that's the heat of your party. That's the energy.
Look.
But Will, I would say when you look at, there's 600,000 elected positions in America. There's only 250 elected Democratic Socialists, right? So the chart you showed earlier, if there's all those folks and you're saying header lurching to the left, the reality of it is that the majority of Democrats, just like the majority of Americans, are at the center. They might be a little center left, they might be a little center right, but they're not democratic socialists. They're not. Capitalism in America is more popular than socialism. And that's why I do think that when you have practical, pragmatic candidates, whether Democrat, Republican, or Independent, that's who's going to win. And by the way, the fastest growing party in America isn't Democrat or Republican. It's independents. That's what decides these federal elections.
Yeah, all these policies are
November,
unbelievably popular,
election,
buddy.
Not because of Democratic socialists, but because of independents who are going to say, I'm voting the folks who basically care about the prices in the supermarket, not talking about values in a ballot box.
Okay. Let's hope that is true. I hope that your diagnosis as well of your party is accurate as well, that most of your party still remains center-left. And if that's true, let's implore those in your party who are centrist to stop talking like everything is an existential threat.
If you are dumb enough or cynical enough to lean into these Republican bastardizations, as many on the Twitter side of the commentariat are, you're a fucking idiot. You're a rube, you're a sucker, you're not going to make it, okay? Because what they are doing to me, what liberals are doing to me, Republicans do to them. And Will King gives the game away when he draws a direct through line between Chuck Schumer's sentiment and mine. Because there is a point of agreement. Whether Chuck Schumer believes it or not doesn't matter. He understands that the base wants him to say certain things like Trump is a fascist, because he is. Okay? So as long as liberals keep punching left, foolishly keep punching left and legitimizing the right-wing reactionary position, they will lose. Okay? It's that simple. It's that simple. And I urge self-identifying liberal voters not to fall for this bullshit. Okay? Do not fall for this bullshit. It's that simple. And I think, unfortunately, many liberals are either cynically leaning into this because they think this will take care of their left flank so they don't have to actually run in the primaries. And they can just like get the federal government to take care of their left flank problem. But at a time when it's very clear that the federal government is trying to actively terror jacket the entire left movement, the Democratic Socialists of America, PSL, and onward, if liberal Democrats in key positions of power don't recognize that this will inevitably harm them as well, put them in harm's way as well, okay? They are going to have a very tough time. It's time to nut up or shut up. We're here. We're here. Fascism is here. Yeah, Justice Department activates untested court for alien terrorist deportations. First, they will go after the non-citizens, undocumented and documented. Then they will inevitably move on to citizens. Yeah, I know it's really funny. I saw this. Stevens has gotten so much mileage out of the story on this woman doing fundraisers for her opponents, especially considering that the same woman did a fundraiser for Stevens 3 months after the post in question. Yeah, I saw this last night. This was the co-chair. This was the co-chair of the Mallory McMorrow campaign. The woman, the Michigan Dem who praised grandfather's Nazi military service hosting fundraiser for Abdul al-Sayed. She was the co-chair for Mallory McMorrow's Senate run. Okay? And what's interesting about it is she's obviously a big fundraiser in the state because she also had fundraised for Haley Stevens. So this is a hilarious story. Stevens has gotten so much mileage out of the story on this woman doing fundraisers for her opponents, especially considering that the same woman did a fundraiser for Stevens 3 months after the post in question. It's such a funny story. All she needed to do was not post about her Nazi grandfather, and yet that and the fact that she's apparently done fundraisers for basically anyone who's ever run for office as a Democrat in Michigan. Yes, she seems like a normal, well-meaning liberal who just posted family history she should have buried. It is a hilarious story. I could not believe it when I first encountered it. This lady literally was like, this Veterans Day, I want to give a shout out to my grandfather, who is a veteran of World War II, just not on the right side. Okay? It's a hilarious story. But what's crazy about it is that Haley Stevens is trying to weaponize the story against Abdul right now. Meanwhile, she fucking fundraised for Haley Stevens. What are we doing? Hassan, why do we not push FDR as a role model for socialist programs? Why don't we lean into what worked in the past? It's like we don't want to embrace or recall this period in history. Great question. Here's the answer. FDR would not have done any of those reforms if it wasn't for the communists pushing him to get to those reforms. But yes, these guys think FDR is a communist too. They just are too embarrassed to openly say that out loud, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, for the record, Emily's List polled Michigan but chose not to poll the Senate election despite endorsing Stevens. Oh, they most certainly polled El Sayed and Stevens, and the decision not to release the results suggests a bad result for Stevens. Yes, it is a complete media blackout on internal polls coming from the Haley Stevens side. And there is a reason for it. Okay? Especially now that Abdul is releasing internal polls that show him up 10 points over Haley Stevens. Obviously, the counter from the Haley Stevens camp is to release their internal numbers. But it's very clear that their internal numbers are showing something devastating. This also corresponds to what Haley Stevens has been doing in terms of attacking Abdul over and over again. This close to the race, you're supposed to actually lock in on your supporters. You're supposed to try to show your policies and try to make an argument of a vision in the affirmative. The fact that they're not doing that, and the fact that they are aggressively posturing against Abdul El-Sayed, trying to slander him extra hard, and potentially even putting themselves in a weaker position overall, even if they were to win the primary, right? Implies that they recognize that they're cooked. Meanwhile, she hasn't done a single fucking town hall. She is doing a horrible job at campaigning. It's all just attack ad after attack ad after attack ad. Now, the problem with attack ads like this is that they depress turnout. They don't actually increase turnout for your side. It has the capacity to potentially depress turnout for your opponent. Okay? This is not how you win elections if you're down 10 points. You have to also have a vision in the affirmative. And none of, I'm so tired of these losers. Yeah, Parker Get a Job said that too. It's fine. Guys, it's okay. Okay? Yes, optics. Parker Get a Job is very frustrated with the optics. He's saying, I'm making the DSA look bad. I'm making the socialist movement look bad. I'm making the Democrats look bad because I wore a Zhongshan suit that I got in China. The answer that I have to that is just let me fucking cook. Okay? It doesn't matter. It costs $0 for you to not lean into reactionary manufactured outrage. Okay? That's it. That's it. We have to have some messaging discipline. These optics arguments are just a distilled version of what you say every day, is it not? Yes. There is also an optics argument that is valid, and then there's an optics argument that is invalid. If you're actually leaning in to the idea that me wearing a Chinese suit is actually the same as like being Adolf Hitler, then you're a little stupid. Okay? I'm sorry. It's unbelievably stupid. Why are you ceding the framing on this issue to oppositional figures? David Pacman lost his mind on this too. 54 minutes? Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. I mean, who cares? Whatever. After October 7th, I'm going to let Hassan cook since he handles his ops easy. Why don't you meet people where they are? I do meet people where they are. I care about what people care about. I care about the actual impact, the actual policies. I am a firm and committed believer that wearing a fucking Nehru style suit or wearing a Chinese suit is nowhere near as consequential as the actual things that I'm talking about. And most people, I think, there are definitely a lot of people who will hear the criticisms, who will hear the cries and go, you know what, that makes sense. I think this guy does love Mao Zedong. I think this guy does love China. It's scary or whatever. Okay. Hassan is unironically an actual legit SJW, says Sosha Butt. Yes. I think the suit scandal unironically worked because wearing the suit caused Fox News to constantly play the commentary. I'm fine with that. Perhaps they still would have ran the College Democrats of America speech, regardless of what kind of suit I was wearing, but I don't give a shit. If that gets in front of eyeballs, if that actually gets people, if that gets people to actually hear what I have to say, a much larger audience to hear what I have to say, I'm happy with that. Who gives a fuck? I just want to say that the gray suit makes it so that people may not take you seriously enough. And by people, I mean normal voters. Yeah, well, it's a good thing that I'm not running for office, isn't it? I'm a content creator. Okay? I'm a content creator. No, you should listen to them, capitulate to not wearing, and also while you're at it, listen to the centrists and capitulate on all your socialist values because caring about what scares centrists is how we'll create a more progressive society funded by Third Way. Yeah. At a time when the State Department is actively talking about arresting people like myself, liberals' hyper-focus has been to give them credence, to give those fears credence. At a time when the State Department is talking about establishing Red Scare propaganda and McCarthy trials once again against their left flank that ranges all the way from someone like myself to PSL and DSA and even Karen fucking Bass, liberals hyper-focusing on what kind of suit I've chosen to wear at the College Democrats of America gives the fucking game away. They don't give a shit. While one of the New York Times' biggest big Middle Eastern correspondents has published a long essay about how Blinken and Sullivan aren't so sure about Netanyahu any longer, Ken Klippenstein reports Marco Rubio's State Department is preparing blacklists. Yeah. Okay, but it would actually be hilarious if you issued a formal apology to everyone saying, I'm sorry if my suit offended you. It's not my fault. You don't appreciate fashion. Yeah. While the State Department is talking about pre-crime for far-left terrorists, Democrats are literally leaning into this hysteria because they're too fearful of losing their goddamn primaries. Okay? They're so scared of losing their primaries. They're so scared of facing their voters that they are leaning into this madness.
Outlined in the United States counterterrorism strategy, we currently are addressing three major types of terror groups: narco-terrorists, Islamic or jihadi terrorists, and far-left terrorists. For all three, we need to identify terror actors.
Yeah. One of the things that's really funny that this chatter also pointed to is like, dog, they say, I love 9/11. You think a fucking Chinese suit that most normies don't even know about is going to push them over the edge? Are you fucking crazy? People don't even give a fuck about the 9/11 shit.
And plots before they happen.
Yeah. Very cool that the State Department's talking about blacklists and pre-crime and McCarthy trials and re-implementing the McCarthy trials while liberals on this website have joined hands with Ted Cruz and the entire GOP about a Chinese suit. You're gonna be in the camps next to me, dumbass. Blacklist. Very cool. The State Department's talking about blacklist pre-crime and re-implementing the McCarthy trials. While liberals on this website have joined hands with Ted Cruz and the entire GOP to freak the fuck out. To freak out about a Chinese suit. More. They're putting all of us in the camps. Dumbasses. Replace ass with Jew. Not so funny now, huh? You know you're speaking to the wind, right? I mean, maybe some people will see this and will recognize that it's silly. No, I said Ted Cruz on purpose because Ted Cruz was complaining about Mao Zedong too. Trump official asked how they're targeting Antifa as a foreign terrorist organization, given it's unclear what Antifa even is. Basically, a foreign terrorist organization, we have three components. It has to be foreign, it has to be terrorist, it has to be an organization.
Doesn't really exist. And you just named Antifa asked. I was wondering, is it that a different group, or what is the intelligence that the U.S. has that Antifa does exist?
Yeah, well, we have those designations. They're designations on the basis of our statutes, on the basis of violent acts that members of those groups committed. By the way, I think they're all also designated as terrorist groups by countries in Europe. And so the other thing about this is I mean, basically a foreign terrorist organization, we have to have these three components. It has to be foreign, has to be terrorist, has to be an organization. And all four of these groups met that test. And we see this as something that will keep America safe and secure. And we're looking at actively at more designations.
What I know about.
Have you no decency, sir? Why McCarthyism fell out of favor? PBS 5-minute clip explanation.
Those who never watch TV during the day were glued to watching the Army McCarthy hearings.
The television moment of the Army McCarthy hearings that is lived in memory ever since is the famous moment on June 9th, 1954, when McCarthy decides to violate an agreement that Cohn and Welch had come to before the hearings.
Roy Cohn, although of
Roy Cohn,
draft
Trump's guy,
age, had managed to avoid the Korean War and the draft afterwards. It was kind of astonishing. Joe Welch said, fine, I will never bring up your draft status, but we have a problem of our own. We have a young attorney named Fred Fisher, who was a member of a Communist Front group while he was at Harvard Law School. And we brought him down to work on the committee. We decided that because of his past, we would send him home. And I would appreciate it if you would never bring up Fred Fisher.
Throughout most of that afternoon, Roy Cohn and Joseph Welch had been having, your basic nasty lawyerly argument. And Cohn's okay with it.
Mr. Welch, sir, with great respect, I work for the committee here. They know how we go about handling situations of communist infiltration and failure to act on FBI information about communist infiltration.
And may I add my small voice, sir, and say whenever you know about a subversive or a communist or a spy, please hurry. Will you remember those words?
But McCarthy gets so angry at Welch's badgering of Roy Cohn that he blurts out the name of Fred Fisher.
In view of Mr. Welch's request, I think we should tell him that he has in his law firm a young man named Fisher, who has been for a number of years a member of an organization which was named, years and years ago, as the legal bulwark of the Communist Party. And I have hesitated bringing that up, but I have been rather bored with your phony request to Mr. Cohen here.
Little did I dream you could be so reckless and so cruel as to do an injury to that lad. It is true he is still with Hale and Dorr. It is true that he will continue to be with Hale and Dorr. It is, I regret to say, equally true that I fear he shall always bear a scar needlessly inflicted by you.
You'll look at Roy Cohn's face and you will see him go, oh my God, no, please no. But McCarthy won't stop. He keeps attacking.
I want to say, Mr. Welch, that it has been labeled long before he became a member, as early as 1944,
Senator, may we not drop this? I did you, I think, no personal injury, Mr. Cole.
No, sir.
And if I did, I beg your pardon. Let us not assassinate this lad further, Senator. You've done enough. Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency?
You could see Joe McCarthy go.
The answer is yes, by the way. He does not have any sense of decency. He does not have, he has no decency. He has none. Giant piece of shit. Yeah, if we're doing House Un-American Activity stuff, this is the definitive video. Paul wrote, by the way, James Earl Jones is so fucking based, dude. Respect to my goat. This is dramatized by him, right? It's like recreated by James Earl Jones, right? He's doing the voice. He does the Frederick Douglass. He does the what to a slave is the 4th of July as well. Shout out to Democracy Now! Classic technique. Subvert, infiltrate, grab someone who's a loyalist. If they're not a loyalist, turn them into one by threatening them, have them admonish, have them attack. Oh, your allies are attacking you. What do you say for yourself? Your allies are the ones who are calling you out. These tactics have been deployed in the past quite successfully, and they are being deployed once again. This is why whenever I hear people go, well, I don't know, should you have worn that suit? I'm like, who gives a fuck? The goddamn federal government, the State Department is once again trying to redo this exact same thing because they're fucking terrified. They're terrified of democracy. That's what they're terrified of at the end of the day. They're terrified of your voices being heard. Yes, he went to Rutgers, Paul Robeson did. Yeah. It's not about the fucking suit. Wake the fuck up. They invented, I feel like the House Un-American Activity Committee invented clip chimping, okay? They were the ones who invented it. They were doing clips out of context even back then. Oh my God.
Million people asked me to say Negroes would do anything.
Dude, for the people who are looking at the Fox News Facebook account getting roasted to death over a suit post in real time, can you send me screenshots? I want to see. I would love to see the Facebook normies cooking Fox News at my behest. I never thought. Is this the new tan suit? Well, if you can't argue his politics, attack his fashion, I guess. The fact that he purposely did this with the intention of triggering the right, the fact that they're falling for us so well is just classic. Is this the same thing as Obama's tan suit? First tan suit, now this, snowflakes. Ah, yes, Fox, the Fashion Police Network. Is it a tan suit? It's just the jacket. Isn't that the dog shocker guy? Oh my God, well, at least it wasn't tan, thank the Lord. The joke writes itself. Fashion Police. Y'all are the type to complain about a tan suit too. Is it a tan suit? Remember the Obama tan suit thing? He's winning. That's not Mao Sao's suit. That's the Sun Yat-sen suit. Dr. Sun Yat-sen is the founding father who started the revolution. He's the founding father of the ROC and also considered the founding father of the PRC. Hassan is a badass. I'm really hoping this beginning of the new American era of politics where politicians actually care about the citizens and they're just trying to fatten their wallets. The fit is fire. He should have worn a suit. Tan suit. It's the season, you know. Is it worse than the tan suit? He's trolling you guys, Lamau. It's called fashion sweaty. So for Parker get a job and all the fucking dumbass liberals that are freaking the fuck out over what my sartorial choices are, who refuse to hear what I'm actually saying in the speech, ask yourself why normie liberals on fucking Facebook, understand the assignment in ways that you simply cannot comprehend. Perhaps you are too polarized against your left flank in ways that normie liberals simply are not. They know exactly what's going on. They know exactly what's going on. This is also the reason why. This is also the reason why I decided to be more hands-on with elections taking place in this midterm season. Okay? In this midterm cycle. Because normies are fucking fed up with anything and everything that is associated with the right. And a lot of these liberals don't understand that when they also channel the right-wing frustrations, when they repeat right-wing nonsense, right-wing propaganda against their fucking left flank. When they do that, they also look like assholes to most normies. Do you understand? The normie liberals they're done with this shit. They don't give a fuck. They're like, oh, I remember when you guys did this to Obama. Fox News, y'all back when you're speaking about a tire. Imagine the crash out if it was tan too. Actually, he's giving them advice on how to win. This is who the left thought Charlie Kirk was. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that Hassan Piker is really a comedian doing some Andy Kaufman style bit. He looks good as fucking it, though. You guys are desperate. It's hilarious. Large political coalitions almost always contain influential figures who are outside of formal party leadership. Those figures can shape activists and primary voters, even if many elected officials disagree with parts of their message. Many mainstream Democratic officials have criticized or distanced themselves from him, while some progressive candidates and activists have chosen to work with him because of his influence among younger voters. Republicans did the same thing with Carlson Tucker, Nick Fuentes, and Steve Bannon. It's a suit. Whining about his suit. What his suit looks like. Lamau. Here's what matters at the end of the day. Does it look good? Okay. The answer is yes. The answer is fucking yes. Singapore import-export. I am personally not a big fan of the suit. Maybe you are the one polarized against expanding import-export operations. Hi, I am a part of a very serious shipping conglomerate targeting Singaporean operations. Could you please confirm that this stream is a safe space to share details? If not, we might rescind our invitation. Of course, it's the safest place for import-export, specifically in the beautiful city-state of Singapore, because I suspect we're going to have another House on American Activities Committee, and this time instead of Moscow, the question will be Havana.
Have you recently changed your mind?
Because this is what they're trying to redo. Okay? This is what they are trying to redo. I guess another Rutgers graduate might be in the fucking crosshairs of the State Department once again. Another Rutgers graduate with anti-imperialist ideals is in the crosshairs of the State Department. No, of course, the main try to be half as base. I will never. I would never. I am not fit to be. I am not fit to be the fucking. I don't have enough revolutionary in my entire body that Paul Robeson had in his pinky finger. Okay. My point is, the situation has deteriorated in America. The conditions are worse. Even the senators, even the politicians that are sitting on the House on American Activities Committee are far more literate than their current versions are. The GOAT himself. Why it worked last time, why it was allowed to happen, was because capital in America was on the upswing. Now, how will they sell a House on American Activities when conditions have deteriorated so much? Well, there's also no real threat that Americans can feel, because the USSR and the United States of America were not interlinked by way of trade in the way that we are with China. The USSR was not responsible for 30% of all trade in the United States of America. You cannot turn Havana and Cuba into the USSR in the minds of Americans. The more they talk about Cuba and the threat of Cuba, the more they try to push for military action against Cuba, the more the average American will say, why are we wasting our resources this way? Maybe even more Americans will think, why are we starving the Cuban population this way? That's it. There is no imminent threat from our foreign adversaries that's out there. Even the ones who we are waging war against right now, direct war, Iran. Most Americans don't like Iran, but also a far greater percentage of Americans don't want to wage war with Iran. Okay? They don't have the same smoke. That's it. And if this continues, more Americans will have a far higher degree of negative feelings towards Israel than they do any foreign adversary. Cultural depictions of the Red Scare have always been ahistorical. What is this? This is from the DC Examiner. America needs a new Red Scare. Cultural depictions of the Red Scare have always been ahistorical. Take its most famous moment. State Department lawyer Joseph Welch confronting Joe McCarthy with, "Have you no sense of decency?" What popular depictions always leave out is that communists had infiltrated the State Department, as well as many of our other institutions. Yeah, I mean, this is the DC Examiner demanding a new Red Scare and presenting me as like the guy, presenting me as the primary reason for why we must have it. Meanwhile, liberals, by and large, that are at the center of power in the Democratic Party, the oppositional force in this fucking country, are leaning into it as well. Candidates who associated with Hassan continue to win. Yeah, this is Parker, get a job. Hassan, genuine question. How is it beneficial to any good movement for you to wear a Mao outfit? This just seems like rage bait for clicks. Do you realize that looks bad for DSA candidates because they associated with you? Do you want to make it harder or easier for them? Candidates who associated with Hassan continue to win because of what they're fighting for. Hassan has been wearing the Zhongshan suit for over a year. You are only hearing about it now due to manufactured outrage from Republicans and centrist Democrats who are now panicking. No one actually cares about this. Exactly. If you are a self-identifying liberal, if you're progressive in any way, shape, or form, you should probably shy away from leaning into silly-ass Republican or reactionary. Let's not just say Republican. Let's call it what it is. Reactionary, manufactured outrage. Because it's not just the Republicans that fall mercy to reactionary opinions. Democrats do it too. Liberals do it all the time. Exercise a little bit of critical thinking. You are complaining about sartorial choices at a time when the American government is demanding that anyone to the left of Nancy Pelosi and perhaps even Nancy Pelosi be imprisoned for thought crimes. Wake the fuck up. What is this? Mr. Obvious breaking the Odyssey's faking ticket sales by buying up theaters / seats fraud to make the movie look like a success. They've reached a part of the culture war code where they just have to start making shit up to continue making content. Yeah. That's why I said very cool that the State Department is talking about blacklist, pre-crime, and re-implementing the McCarthy trials while liberals on this website have joined hands with Ted Cruz and the entire GOP to freak out about a Chinese suit I wore. They are putting all of us in the camps, dumbasses. The myth of consensual Zhongshan suit wearing. Chinese people love us on repping the Zhongshan suit while everyone from liberals to right-wingers is faking outrage. Yes. Yes, Crystal Ball cooked Adam Smith. I saw. You wore it at the Streamer Awards? I know. And people freaked out back then about it too. Do you believe if someone wears clothing associated with a historical figure, they are endorsing that figure's worst actions? I mean, look, this is an argument to try to be like, oh, what if someone was wearing a Hitler suit? Yeah, that would be different, okay? And someone has done that for the record. His name is Greg Bovino. And the worst thing that he did was certainly not wearing fucking Nazi garb. The worst thing he did was kill American citizens with ICE and kill non-citizens and deport them and throw them in the fucking concentration camps and brag about it. Okay? Change the word suit for the word Israel. Suddenly not so funny, is it? Yes. Unfortunately, many Americans are unbelievably reactionary. It's a fucking relitigating the 10 suit discourse for some strange reason at a time when the fascist state is basically salivating at the prospect of jailing every fucking dissident. The Democratic Socialists of America are using a century-old Trotskyist tactic to infiltrate and subvert the Democratic Party. It's time to throw them out, says James Kirchick. So they should run third party. I thought you guys hated that too. Yeah, meanwhile, Labour did this in the UK and they received devastating results as a consequence of that. Striking thing about the centrist meltdown is that the dastardly thing socialists are doing is winning elections. Their solution isn't to win via democratic process. It's to simply expel them. Part of a now long list of EGs of party centrist hostility to democracy. You know what's ironic? They want democratic centralism. That's what they want. But without the robust debate internally within the party. They just want party line loyalty without even having an argument about where or which direction the party is supposed to go towards. Okay? They don't want democratic centralism. They want centrist centralism. That's all they want. So no, I won't even say this is like the Communist Party of China, because at least internally within the Communist Party of China, there is robust debate. There's also a performance-based aspect to different provinces. The party is consistently retooling policy, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and moving in that direction. It's an unbelievably efficient system. It's not exactly my favorite system, but you can't deny the results. But of course, you can't even have this sort of conversation in America, because when you bring this kind of stuff up, Americans go, what the fuck? You're dick riding the CCP. It's like, no, I just understand, because I'm not a fucking dumbass. I at least have done a little bit of reading to try to comprehend why this behemoth of a superpower rose to such prominence over such a short period of time, because I'm intellectually fucking curious. Unlike you, liberals used to care about this sort of thing. Liberals' number one criticism against the Republicans is that they're fucking illiterate monsters, and now all of a sudden they're behaving in the exact same way. You don't have to agree with the People's Republic of China and its policy-making structure, but aren't you curious as to how they operate? Every poster adds 10 million to the death count. Of course, this guy likes Mao. Let's not forget Mao, who Mao was, a communist responsible for the deaths of more than 70 million people through starvation. There's no room in the Democratic Party for anyone who embraces Mao, and no room for Piker, period. Yeah, Josh Gottheimer feels probably a little called out about the Israel line in that speech. Yes, Mao killed 400 million, quintillion, mega gazillion people. Ugh. No, she makes every decision and Stalin has a big spoon. Yes. As China's prosperity becomes undeniable, as the rest of the world, including the Western world, moves in the direction of China, it would be very important for every American to study Chinese history, to understand the Chinese Revolution, the Communist Revolution, to understand how the Communist Party of China has developed itself. There is a lot of worthy lessons to learn from that, okay? That's it. And it's very frustrating that a lot of these liberals, just like the Republicans that they are disgusted by, engage in the same exact type of thought-terminating nonsense.
Oh, so I said that.
Atlantic Council's Jamie Metzel called on Hakeem Jeffries to lead the charge against what he called extremist radicals running on the party line, not on YouTube yet. Yeah, it's funny because the Pentagon is fucking broke. The Pentagon sinking billions into the Iran war is quickly running short on cash. They're running out on interceptors as well. And on top of that, they're running out on standoff munitions too. So what's going to happen when we have no offense, no defense whatsoever? In a final act of desperation, I worry that America's military strategy, its aerial bombardment strategy, is going to turn into YOLO mode, where they just fucking send as many planes as possible over the Iranian airspace and just have them get fucking peppered by Iranian anti-air defenses. Do you understand? We haven't fully achieved that last beast mode mentality just yet, okay? We've been a little bit more careful with our aerial bombardment campaigns. I suspect we won't be as careful in the future. I'm into me not knowing enough about China, but I'm hesitant to say learn from China, and we should be specific about what we mean because their government is sided with human rights issues. I don't know, maybe that's wrong. China is the most abundant country on the fucking planet, okay? They have a performance-based party structure. They have a one-party system, obviously. Okay, so ultimately, if you want to work within, if you want to become a politician, you have to start off at the local level. It's a very competitive and unbelievably difficult position to get. But you basically start off in local governance where there are very competitive elections, and then you work your way through the party. And it's a very meritocratic, performance-based system, especially at the local level. If you are not on the ball, If you drop the ball in any meaningful capacity, they will vote you out. You're done. And these guys, they work their way through this process. It's a very competitive process, and the competition is around performance. What you are delivering for your constituents, what you're delivering for your province. There is obviously a top-down approach to long-term goals. There's the 5-year plans where they're like, this is what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on eradicating poverty. We're going to focus on building a healthcare system, right? Let's say that's the goal. Then they deliver those goals to every single province. And from that point on, the party officials' goals are basically to deliver that agenda. Your constituent services in the CCP blow out the very best America has to offer as an entry line. Yes. Anyway, I'm not Chinese. Contrary to popular opinion, contrary to what my haters say, I'm not Chinese. I'm an American. So I'm going to get back to worrying about American issues, specifically about how the current American government is making an even greater mistake potentially. They didn't even bother hitting Pickaxe Mountain during the war because it was so deeply buried that it was pointless, and the site was not even discussed as a result, even though every casual observer of this topic was aware of it. Now, because a journalist and Israeli intelligence leaks brought it to Trump's attention for the first time, he's going to burn more munitions firing at solid granite or temporarily disabling a tunnel entrance. Also, if Iran was rushing towards nuclear deterrent now, they would not do so at a known site, and they also would not need a large facility like this to do it. The only people Trump seemingly listens to is Mark Dubowitz, the FDD, Benjamin Netanyahu, and I guess Israeli intelligence. In the best case scenario, Trump puts a conventional fireworks show on Pickaxe Mountain, declares it obliterated, victory, and withdraws from the war. Just about every other scenario that isn't Trump capitulates again gets worse and worse for everyone. Yes. I'm sorry, this is kind of what we voted for, okay? You vote for a fucking dumbass, he's gonna do dumbass shit. You make the face of the movement, the face of the unitary executive theory, a guy like Donald Trump, he's gonna take advantage of that consolidation of power and do stupid shit, especially when he's easily manipulated by foreign actors, specifically in this case, Israel. If you allow Israel for years and years to have unprecedented influential capabilities in the highest ranks of office in this goddamn country, one day they're going to find a guy just as stupid as Donald Trump. All of this could have been prevented. We could have stopped the Republicans from trying to consolidate power in the hands of the executive. We could have stopped our endless warmongering at any point, but we chose not to do so. President after president, whether they're Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter, only continued in this direction. Wars go unquestioned. When the executive decides to go to war, no one can say a damn thing about it. This has always been the case. Barack Obama followed through on this as well after George W. Bush. He didn't even prosecute the Bush administration. Then Trump came into office and he continued on that same trajectory. Every single problem that you can point to right now under Donald Trump is a problem that a previous administration refused to solve. Okay? And now that we have a fucking clown as the goddamn president, well, I guess we got to enjoy the circus. That's it. We got to enjoy the goddamn circus, I guess. We put the fucking clown makeup on. Yeah, now we got a damn Cheeto in the White House. A dang Cheeto in the fucking White House. And we don't even have the bread. No bread, all circus. Fantastic. Notice that $150 billion for ICE and mass deportation isn't crazy. Half the Dems voted to thank them. Yes. Yes. Of course. Sorry, no bread. All circus. Money for the bread went to ICE. so that the dang Cheeto in the White House could just come into your neighborhood and occupy it with a fucking foreign military power. Occupy it with this alien force and kill your neighbors in the process of kidnapping them. That's where we're at. If Iran completely destroys the tankers, then the U.S. has no strike aircraft within the range of Tehran. After they run out of standoff munitions, I expect America to just continue to bomb the coast and avoid sending any sorties into the heart of the country. I mean, I don't think Iran's going to be able to completely destroy the tankers. We have a big-ass fleet. But who knows? Who knows? Crazier things have happened. Man made a video echoing this post. Echoing what post? Socialist Summer Part 2, Why to Freak Out. Dude, Van Jones was a fucking Maoist third worldist, man. Between me and him, he's the only one who was ever a Maoist. Let's see what this Maoist third worldist has to say now.
All right, a quick message to my friends on the far left. Quit pooping in the Kool-Aid bowl and telling us that the turds are ice cubes. They're not ice cubes, and I want to talk about it.
Van Jones on Substack.
All right, guys, I got some stuff I want to get off my chest. I am tired of a set of people on the very far left in the Democratic Party, my party, telling us that in order for us to be progressives, we now have to believe ideas and support ideas that are completely nuts. I am a progressive Democrat. In other words, everything that's good in our party, I believe in, have believed in for a long time. Do I want universal health care, Medicare for all, whatever you want to call it? Absolutely. If you are sick, you should be able to go see a doctor. That's a good idea. I want free education for everybody as long as they want to keep learning. I think that's a good idea. The Green New Deal, I'm the author of the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is my phrase from my first book in 2008. There's nobody more committed to criminal justice reform than me, ecological solutions, the whole deal. These are our ideals as progressives. We should fight for them. We need them now more than ever. But what does that have to do with supporting Hamas? What does that have to do with putting up candidates who say we should have no police, no prisons, we can't deport anybody, even if they commit rape or murder, Israel shouldn't exist? These are terrible ideas. These are awful ideas. Where did these ideas even come from?
You just listed the things the extreme left is looking for. We're just asking them to do them. Yeah. Paralyzed Pendant Plug. Thank you for the 100 gifted subs. God damn. Yeah, we know what Van Jones is fucking. Did bro get Fetterman? He's been Fetterman. Are you kidding me? He got $100 million from Jeff Bezos. Are you kidding me? Jeff Bezos gave him a $100 million for no reason. Like straight, well, not for no reason. Not for no damn reason. For this reason. Glenn Greenwald had a good assessment of this video, I think. Where is it? In 2009, Van Jones was forced to resign from the Obama admin after 6 months because Fox News and establishment Democrats denounced him as a radical left due to his prior support in the 1990s for Mumia Abu-Jamal, calling a GOP member an asshole, allegedly signing a petition suggesting Bush did 9/11, etc. His glaring, oozing career ambitions lay in the ruins as he was kicked out of decent DC power centers for transgressing too many ideological lines and compartmental rules. That's when he realized that the wealth and celebrity awaited him only if he were willing instead to transform himself into a vehement defender and guard of establishment dogma, a useful tool for those who had just struck him down. So that's exactly what he did. He renounced his prior radical views, repeatedly apologized for his transgressions, became a stalwart, weepy advocate of deary DC media conventional wisdom, and began playing the new TV character his script required. The moderate, sensible, liberal who just wants to bring everyone together in a safe status quo perpetuating middle. His real function, to begin every sentence with, I'm progressive democratic, the subtext, a black progressive Democrat, and then denounce the populist left and populist right for crossing the political and ideological lines that he was told to vigorously police and uphold, the lines which nobody is permitted to cross without being denounced and excluded the way he once was. Look, they're too extreme even for Van Jones. He was there to protect his establishment bosses by punishing the excesses of the extremes on both sides, just as he had once been punished by them, almost to the point of career destruction. His service as the black progressive policeman for the DC establishment and his dual religious planks of corporatism and militarism were predictably very valuable for them and very lucrative for him. Where is it? Fuck. He got larger and larger CNN contracts. Jeff Bezos gave him $100 million to hand out to whoever he wanted. Jay-Z hired him to lead a new group, etc., etc. Book deals from large New York City publishing houses flowed in. Since October 2023, he saw the real opening, one that would catapult him upward even further into the top echelons of establishment servitude, turn himself into the most devoted liberal media loyalist to Israel, the most militant defender of Tel Aviv's reputation as global support for that country collapsed. That is precisely what Van Jones is doing. That is the lane he occupies. Glenn Greenwald, despite my back and forth arguments with Glenn at times, has fucking nailed it. Okay? He is perhaps at his best when he's cooking establishment liberals from, his position. He has deep disdain for these types. This is no notes 100% a cook, okay? The most militant defender of Tel Aviv's reputation as global support for that country collapsed. He dutifully wore his little yellow ribbon pin every day for years on TV as if it were tattooed on him. He cackled with Bill Maher about how annoying it is to keep hearing all this whining about dead babies in Gaza. With his patented fake TV tears in his eyes, he heralded Israel as our greatest ally and talked about how worried he was for his beloved Jewish friends as anti-Semitism grew on the left and the right. Now he's here to boast that the leaders in both parties called him this week to profusely thank him for his service to the bipartisan DC agenda. The once wannabe radical has fully transformed into a prime media instrument for the establishment that once threatened to destroy him. Both parties are now grateful to him for defending their prerogatives and positions. One thing is for sure, other than Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, nobody's future is brighter at CNN once Larry Ellison's son buys up Warner Brothers and CNN and puts Barry Weiss in charge with the sole mandate to turn the network into an even more vigorous Israeli propaganda network than CBS has become. That's it. What can I say? No notes. Could this ever happen to you? What do you think? Don't you think that I've had many pivot opportunities in my entire career? What have I done? What have I done every single time? I stood by my principles, okay? My entire quote unquote business strategy, if you want to call it that, is also designed in a way where I can maybe, to the best of my ability, overcome these sorts of outside pressures. That's why I'm accountable to you, okay? That's it. Why do you think I don't go after sponsorships? Why do you think I forego any kind of ad spend or any kind of advertising initiatives whatsoever? There have been a million different instances where I could have easily pivoted and said, oh, look, I'm a former Muslim guy. Okay. In the early 2016 era, I could have started off by saying, I'm a militant atheist and a former Muslim. I grew up in Turkey, and I'm here to tell you Islam is the most dangerous religion. Okay. I could have done that. That would have been a fantastic pivot point. Okay. I'm a good looking, white passing, tall Muslim guy, former Muslim guy. Do you understand what kind of appetite there was for someone like myself? Why in the ever-loving fuck? Why in the ever-loving fuck would I ever come out of the gate swinging for socialism, and perhaps even more dangerous than socialism in general, anti-imperialism? Why would I speak out against Israel all the way back in 2014, 2015, 2016? Why would I speak out against Barack Obama's foreign interventions all the way back when? Why would I speak out against the mass deportation agenda, first championed by Barack Obama and then by Donald Trump? There were a million opportunities for someone like myself to pivot away from that, to be a dog to the Democratic Party, to be a radical centrist. Who would want to be in this position? Yes, I know from the outside, it's like, oh, dude, you got, you make a lot of money, Hassan. That's what people say, right? Sponsored by You the People, for You the People, by the way, Piker Broadcasting Service. They say, oh, you make a lot of money, Hassan. It's true. Okay. But do you understand how little attacks I would fucking receive if I was a establishment media figurehead, which I very easily could have gotten to by this point? I've been doing this shit to an increasingly growing audience with a lot more real world impact over the last decade. But there were a million opportunities for someone like myself to renounce my former views. Do you know how much money I would have? Van Jones is $1 million. Or, I mean, $100 million in his fucking bank account. If I could cut it in independent media, going my own way, staying true to my values, staying true to my moral compass, what makes you think I couldn't fucking make a shit ton more money and receive no fucking pushback whatsoever? I've always told everyone you're a true believer, which is why we're so lucky to have you as our figurehead. Yeah, it's why it's so silly when people say, oh, dude, you're fucking grifter, dude. Yeah, dude, definitely. Definitely. I love grifting to an audience. I love grifting to an audience that is unbelievably skeptical. I love grifting by assuming perhaps one of the more unpopular positions in American politics that is now becoming popular. Okay? Partially due to the shit that the effort that I've put in, but the effort that you've put in, the effort that DSA has put in, it's becoming more mainstream now. But if you think, this is why I always yell at people. This is why I always yell at people who will say stuff like, dude, these people who are now turning on Israel are grifters. It's like, sure, there are some who are, okay? But if I had that mentality, half of you would probably not be anti-Israel now. Many of you had no fucking clue about what Israel was up to before October 7. So remember, you got to be a little bit more gracious for people who are, going through their own journey too. Oh my God. CBS News Department of Justice announced they're sending federal agents to monitor polling sites in 3 Arizona counties for the midterm elections. Great. There we go. I can't believe anyone debates Van Jones in earnest instead of just cracking jokes about how Bezos gave him $100 million for no particular reason. Why are you working? Go buy a beach. Completely forgotten now, but Jones tried to get a liberal response to the Tea Party going in 2011 and it went nowhere. In retrospect, it feels like a preview of Indivisible. Liberals wanted to meet up and strategize, but he didn't follow through on it. I'm 100% one of those people who had no idea what was going on in the Middle East before October 7th. I was only when I started listening to you that I finally started to understand. Yes, that's why you gotta remember that, and you have to be gracious with people who are going through their own journey. Obviously, you don't want to get duped by fucking bad actors. But anyway, here's a W for Toyota and another W for Toyota. New York Times, Troy Jackson won't support Schumer for leader. Troy Jackson says he won't support Chuck Schumer as leader and also said he was not sure he wanted to support Senator Schumer in the general election. Okay? And by the way, the rat fuck is still happening. They're trying to bring back the water bottle incident from a decade ago almost. As soon as it was established that Troy Jackson is the candidate and that he is also Israel critical, immediately they brought up articles. Okay? Here it is. Maine Senate. Several of Troy Jackson's ex-colleagues tell CNN he has been aggressive towards them and is shown to have anger issues. Jackson did address the water bottle incident and apologized, though it was not enough for some of the female lawmakers' allies, according to 2 people in the room. Yeah. Here's the detail. He threw the water bottle because his colleague refused to fight against the Supreme Court to lower prescription drug prices because the Supreme Court would rule it as unconstitutional. I said, Lemau, yeah, I don't care. He's a lion. We need passionate legislators who will fight like hell to lower prescription pharmaceutical prices, which is what the incident was about. The legislators made up afterwards anyway, which they did. Yeah, throw another one, Troy. Throw another dart, Troy. Throw it for me, Troy. Omar Bartov is back on the New York Times again, talking about I'm a scholar of genocide. We're entering a new terrifying era. It's kind of funny. One of these days, Omar, I like Omar Bartov. I think he occupies a very important but very different lane from where I'm at, obviously. Just give him like 2 more years, okay? He's going to be like, yeah, okay, Zionism was always bad. He is Mr. Zionism evolved into this genocidal fascist ideology. It wasn't supposed to be this way. Eventually, give him like 2 more years. He's going to be fucking singing Ilan Pape style praises. He is going to be, he is eventually going to arrive at the conclusion perhaps that Zionism always was this, and it didn't just evolve into this. Certainly it evolved, but it was destined to turn into what we all can now see it is. Because Omar Bartov was a very important Holocaust scholar, okay? Israeli, Jewish, very important Holocaust scholar, right? So it was somewhat controversial among Zionists when he actually came out and said, Dr. Bartov is a professor of Holocaust and Genocide Studies at Brown University, when he came out and said Israel's doing a genocide, okay? It was pretty impactful. It was very controversial for the Zionists. They were like, Omar Bartov, how could you do this to us, right? Obviously, people on our side would say, come on, Omar, too little, too late, right? It's fine. It's not for us. It's for other people, okay? Everyone plays a different role in this. But what's actually more interesting to me is the book that he wrote. Omar Bartov came out, said Israel's committing a genocide, and it was I think it was like 2025, if I recall correctly. I don't know the exact timeline, so don't call me out. I apologize, but he basically came out, and because of the position of prominence he has and the position of influence he has, a lot of people actually were like, okay, this is, things are changing. Omar also wrote a book. Yeah, I think it was 2025. Yeah. Because I remember covering it. I'm a genocide scholar. I know it when I see it. July 15th, 2025. So a year ago, right? I remember covering it at the time. You could probably find my commentary on this, right? And I probably said the same things I'm about to say now for Omar's new evolution of his ideology. So he came out and said it's a genocide. I'm a Holocaust scholar. This is, I know it when I see it. Then Omar went to writing a book. Okay, he went into writing a book on Zionism. Okay? This is very important. The book came out recently, I believe. It came out in April this year. A genocide scholar asks, what went wrong in Israel? So why is this important? So there's obviously different schools of thought on Zionism. I am an anti-Zionist. I'm an anti-fascist. And therefore, of course, I believe that Zionism from Plan Dalet and onward has always been an exterminationist ideology. Okay? That's my belief. That's my assessment. And that's the assessment of many anti-Zionists, if not all anti-Zionists, that Zionism was always a relatively new ideology that was ethno-supremacist, that was exterminationist. Omar's book argues, it's still very important though, because again, he's Israeli professor of Holocaust and genocide, very famous professor. Okay? Omar's book argues that Zionism evolved into becoming this genocidal ideology. Okay? So we still have some friction. We still have some disagreements there. My assessment personally is he's working through the steps of coming to the conclusion that Zionism always was this ideology, but it's taken a toll on him and probably a little difficult for him to come to that conclusion.
Damn, this guy's good.